Welcome
like
to
to
the
keep,
whoop-de-wop.
drifting off and getting
We're
away from
going to
that.
keep going over it, and I'm going to keep twisting your
The
words
whoop-de-wop
to remind everybody
is
Oh
a
we
my
don't owe
God.
white people. We do not owe white
The
people
whoop-de-wop
shit.
is a place.
I run the risk,
Whoop-de-wop
and it's not my
is a
channel,
thing.
so I will just drop this
Whoop-de-wop.
fucking link.
Just curious. You know what a
Yo,
Hoosier
yo,
is?
yo,
A
hand me
Hoosier?
the whoop-de-wop.
Well, I know it's an Indiana
Yo,
thing.
yo, you got
Yeah,
some
but do
money?
you know what
We're
a
going
Hoosier
to the
is?
whoop-de-wop.
I actually don't.
Okay.
Yo,
That's
we
something to do with
throw,
things.
throw some cool
And
whoop-de-wops.
from a Hoosier, you're going to get certain things that are going to happen. And
Well, I
walk
do
down
know
the
at one
Coke
point
stove, go
Indiana
grab that
was
shit
like the
right quick.
center of the
She
Klan.
was like, cool. And she already know to get my dough. So,
Over-dramatized? Possibly. Never happened? Hopefully. Scare tactics? Yes, it is scary to think of. Brownouts or blackouts. Whether we believe it or not, no matter who is to blame, the ever-present fact is we have an energy problem, and it could get worse. But who are we to believe? No one seems to agree about Montana coal. Recently, the United States collided head-on with a shortage of energy in all its forms. This year alone, we will use 400 billion kilowatt-hours of electricity. 90% of this will be generated by oil, natural gas, and coal. Let's examine these energy sources. We are reminded of the oil situation each time we fill the tank with gasoline. Demand exceeding the supply. The sources of our future natural gas supplies are uncertain. Montana relies very heavily upon Canadian natural gas. Canada has notified us that they will soon stop natural gas shipments to us. Recent developments may alter the oil or gas situation. But if history has taught us one thing, it is not to rely on foreign governments for our energy needs. The one energy source we have in abundant supply is coal. The energy contained in U.S. coal is more than twice that contained in all the oil of the Middle East. During the next decade, we will experience shortages of every traditional fuel except coal. But only if the coal is mined. We are faced with buying energy time to develop alternate forms of energy like geothermal, solar, and fusion power. Energy conservation and coal development are the only methods ready today to help stretch our critical supplies of oil and natural gas. The Montana Bureau of Mines and Geology estimates the total coal reserves of eastern Montana at over 450 billion tons. Of these reserves, about 43 billion tons are surface mineable. This figure may be as high as 50 to 60 billion tons. To put 43 billion tons in perspective, a coal shovel such as this one, averaging 3 scoops per minute, working continually day and night, year-round, would take over 2,000 years just to load Montana's surface mineable coal. Total coal reserves blanket eastern Montana. Lignite coal found in these areas has many future possibilities. However, 95% of the coal being mined in Montana today is subbituminous, which is found in these areas. However, these are total reserves. The subbituminous coal, which is not too deep to be surface mined, only covers this area. If we were to combine all areas which will have been mined by the year 2000, this illustrates the acreage which will probably be mined by that time, after 77 years of coal mining. 917 million tons of energy-producing coal from this small amount of land. All but this, which is still being mined, will have already been reclaimed. Western Energy's mining operations are centered around coal strip. Coal processed here goes to Wisconsin, Minnesota, Illinois, the Montana Power Steam Generating Plant in Billings, and to the mine mouth steam generating units in coal strip. Western Energy alone employs 263 people for its mining operation. Peabody Coal Company's Big Sky mine operates near the Red Hills south of Coal Strip. This coal is shipped to the Minnesota Power and Light Company. Peabody employs 65 people. Westmoreland Resources has a mine located at Sarpy Creek. Tons of this badly needed fuel is going to Minnesota, Wisconsin, Iowa, and Illinois. Employees here total 119. Decker Coal Company operates one of the largest coal mines in the world in terms of tons produced. Decker coal goes to Chicago and Detroit. Decker employees number 280. Mining equipment and techniques vary from mine to mine. However, these basic steps in surface mining are standard. First, permits to explore are obtained and an area is studied. If mineable, a detailed environmental impact study is made, projecting 20 or 30 years into the future. If approved, mining permits are issued on an annual basis. The first step of the mining operation is to remove and stockpile the topsoil, which is saved for the reclamation stage. Explosives are used to loosen the overburden, making it easier for the drag lines to move it. Once the coal is exposed, it is also shot with explosives, then loaded onto haul trucks, which carry it to the preparation plants. There the coal is crushed, then stored or immediately loaded onto waiting trains. An entire 10,000-ton shipment can be flood-loaded in 2 to 3 hours. Once the coal is removed, the overburden is replaced. The land is contoured the topsoil replaced, then seeded. Finally, after only a matter of months, the land is returned to equal or higher grass production than ever before. Many critics charged that the land would be rendered useless after mining, but as you can see, the charge wasn't true. Nearby farming hasn't been disturbed either. And you can't farm any closer to mining than this. After observing a surface mining operation, it becomes clear why surface mining is the safest and most efficient method of getting the coal out. Drag lines are used to remove the overburden, which are the layers of rock and other materials overlaying the coal. They can lift up to 110 tons of material per bite and move it a city block away. These impressive machines range in weight from 4 to 7 million pounds and cost more than $2 per pound. They require only one operator and one oiler, and are powered by the electricity they help produce. This requires one very long extension cord. Assembly of one of these giants takes a crew of 40 a full year. Use of large, efficient equipment keeps the production price of the coal down. Continuing operations around the clock results in a double benefit. It keeps a constant supply of coal available while creating more jobs. Most of the jobs created by mining Montana coal have been filled locally. Jobs for local people. Jobs in a time of high unemployment. Jobs for Montanans who are trying to stay in Montana. Well over 2,000 permanent jobs have been directly or indirectly created by coal mining. More jobs can become available if new mines open. These people are taxpayers, not tax dependents. Their salaries are a financial shot in the arm to the entire area as well as to the state. The full-time employees, as well as the temporary workers, are mostly young professionals. They have to be in order to handle these highly technical jobs. The Appalachia image simply doesn't apply here. Coal Strip is becoming a model community, helping to provide a new lifestyle for miners and their families. Life here might even be a cut above the average. At least the little people seem to like it. A pet show in the park is fun for everyone. Well, after a few rough spots get smoothed out. All contestants win something, though, even if it's just a ride home. Montana's coal mines can be proud of the notable achievements made in reclamation. Much of the land adjacent to mining areas shows the effects of overgrazing. When rangeland becomes overgrazed, cactus and other undesirable species invade. Mining offers a fresh start for these areas. A chance to be improved from this to this. The top half of this scene is native range, producing 813 pounds of vegetation per acre, including the sagebrush. The bottom half has been reclaimed and now produces 3,905 pounds of vegetation per acre, all edible. Since there doesn't seem to be a shortage of sagebrush in Montana, but there is always a need for rangeland, this seems like a good approach to sound resource management. These gourmets prefer this new approach to land management. These cattle are part of a grazing study conducted by the Department of Animal and Range Sciences of Montana State University. One of Western Energy's reclamation plots near Coldstrip was the site of the test, which will hopefully lead to even better reclamation methods. This recently mined area is well into the reclamation process. It was seeded in barley only 10 weeks ago. This is a temporary measure to stabilize the area until the season permits planting of the permanent mixture. The reclaimed areas appear to be more desirable to wildlife than the native areas. These four-legged residents have never had it so good. Decker Coal Company had to build an $8,000 fence around some of the test plots to keep the wildlife from eating the results. This study on various types of seed mixtures is being conducted by the U.S. Forest Service. Constant testing of grass mixtures, air, water, soil composition, and wildlife requirements will assure even better future reclamation results. Each area differs in yearly rainfall, temperature, and type of soil. Consequently, each area will have a grass mixture and soil treatment designed specifically for it, based on results of previous studies. Truly, coal mining today is a responsible industry, and certainly a necessary one, if we are to win our current energy struggle. We now have the technology to convert coal into fertilizer, synthetic natural gas, and petroleum. Breakthroughs in research continually make coal more necessary to winning our current energy dilemma. In a public opinion poll conducted by the John Kraft Company, Montanans 3-1 endorsed coal mining. Yet time and money are being used to stop development instead of working for sound resource management. Each time, our state legislature sets tax rates far higher than other states, a setback occurs that we can't afford. Our coal must be competitive in price, or utilities may simply buy it elsewhere. When a utility buys other than Montana coal, it is a 20-year decision. 20 years of lost taxes, 20 years of lost jobs. When coal production is delayed, often with unrealistic demands, a setback occurs that we can't afford. Coal mining is faced with two obstacles: cost and time. It takes a long time to open a new mine. There is a 5 to 7 year waiting list for a drag line alone, and the cost rises at an astounding rate. Each delay results in more expensive electricity for consumers. Each delay means the state may lose tax revenue that will have to be obtained from other sources. Each delay means we risk an even deeper energy crunch. Sound resource management will provide jobs for Montanans and more revenue for the state. With reclamation techniques which improve each year, we should now encourage mining Montana coal. mine Montana coal, it makes sense.
Well, I don't know. That was actually kind of entertaining. I have a thing for old documentaries too. Funny enough, this has a little, excuse me. Many of you won't be old enough to remember, but they used to show films like this on old style. Oh, damn it. Let me hold on one sec. Sorry about that. They used to show films like this on those old style projectors. Like, the title of this channel is called AV Club and or AV Geeks, 16 millimeter films. And I watched plenty of them back in my youth. And at the end of this, you see there's like all kinds of stuff at the end of a reel of film, numbers and, I guess they're like editing marks and that sort of stuff. But this was a good one. I enjoyed it. This was from 1976, and I actually was 10 years old or so, going on 11. And I remember the energy crisis and the bicentennial and all that. So that's kind of what this was about. Coal as a suitable substitute for gas, during the oil crisis. One thing that I did note in this film is the point about energy conservation, which was a big thing back then. As a matter of fact, Carter uh, used to wear sweaters or something like that. The big deal or the all the rage was turning down the thermostat. Hey, put on a sweater. If it's a little chilly inside. So those were the days. And then I put up a point that Zhang made, something about Helen Andrews. Look, I'm 60 years old. I pretty much get it just from her interviews, and we may actually. There's a short one that I have queued up for towards the end of the show after the news articles. Um, I tend not to read people that I already know I'll disagree with. Like, I've been around the block enough times that there's nothing she can say or write that is going to convince me she has a point. Um, she might have a smattering of a point, but you know what? Not enough of one that I become a patron of hers by buying her books. The interviews I've seen on YouTube are free, and that's enough. I don't need to, buy a book that she wrote. So let us get into the news. And hey, TKMC, and everybody else who has been so nice enough to show up. I'm tinkering around with show hours, trying to figure out when most people are available to watch. Though I still have a fondness for the mornings. So, the compromise so far has been, break up the show in two. However, I'll probably continue to do that. But you know what? If I wake up in the morning and I either have something to do or don't feel like, doing an early show, I just won't. Oh, that is a blessing. So, U.S. government says it will stop paying for food aid next week. Lovely. And the other interesting thing is here in my lovely state of Georgia, Georgia SNAP benefits won't go out in November, officials can confirm. So apparently Georgia has pinched its pennies and, at least will go on for another month. So salute to Georgia. It is my home sweet home. But I want to listen to this article since it has an audio component.
Food assistance used by more than 40 million Americans known as SNAP or food
Pounds of
stamps
grits.
will not be distributed
We
starting on
don't
November
measure
1st
grits in
due to the
pounds,
ongoing
sir.
government
We
shutdown,
measure it by
according
volume.
to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Bottom line, the well has run dry, the department said in a notice on its website, which also blamed Democrats in the Senate for the impasse. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, is used by 1 in every 8 Americans and plays a vital role in many grocery budgets. Earlier this month, the Trump administration declined to tap a contingency fund that would have continued benefits, saying the money is needed for potential emergencies such as natural disasters. Democrats have condemned President Donald Trump for refusing to use the contingency fund. This is perhaps the most cruel and unlawful offense the Trump administration has perpetrated yet. Congresswomen Rosa DeLauro and Angie Craig said in a joint statement on Friday that slammed Trump for providing assistance to Argentina and
Yeah. All that stuff. Argentina. There's he loaned like 20 or 40 million somehow or another. He took 150 million, which was a joke from some billionaire, some Epstein aligned billionaire, supposedly to pay troops, pay troops salaries, which was an absolute joke. Dude, $150 million wouldn't even pay for a day's salary. I think I saw a number. It comes out to about $100. We got like over 1 million people in the military. 150 million paying salaries. Apparently that fool thought they were paying slave wages. But the most interesting thing is what I read here today. Largest federal workers union calls for a clean bill. Democrats just ran into a problem here. I think they have the high road as far as why they're refusing to go with the clean bill, because the subsidies for Obamacare will run out at the end of the year. But this federal workers union, they're literally saying, hey, you know what? We would rather work and get back pay than, y'all can work out the details on Obamacare later. And the federal workers probably don't even use Obamacare. That's the irony. However, they tend to support Democrats. So Democrats just ran up against a wrinkle, and they're going to have to work it out. They don't want to piss off federal workers unions because that's kind of, a core voter base. So it just got interesting. Let's see what happens there. But again, most federal workers don't use Obamacare. I wouldn't imagine they would. They have federal, insurance plans, I'm sure. So anyway, let us move on. Let's see what's going on in this chat. 12 months to be free. Oh, what is freedom? CKJ3. I plan on doing a show on that. Can you buy yourself out of slavery? So this apparently Donald Trump is in Asia. I hear he's touching down in Japan, or has already. So U.S. and China reached framework of a trade deal, Scott Bessent says. So let's see any interesting details there. So top Chinese and U.S. economic officials agreed on a trade framework, as stated by Bessent. Bessent indicated that the agreement would postpone China's export controls on rare earth minerals and avoid a new U.S. tariff. So China was going to slap on tariffs for rare earths, and U.S. was going to retaliate with high tariffs. So Lee, I guess that's the Chinese representative, characterized the discussions as candid, while Bessent noted very substantial negotiations. Trump expressed confidence in the deal, asserting that both countries want to make a deal. Well, here's the deal. Again, this is just more proof. China's the only country on earth that can go toe to toe with the US and win. They have not blinked yet. There's no reason for them to blink. And by the way, they also own a shitload of US debt. That's part of why, Trump can't go full ham on them. They own a ton of debt and property and stuff like that. So it is what it is. What's up, Kimmy? What's up, John? Better than rice. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh yeah, this is Trump landing in Tokyo. Let's have a look.
Of when China attacks Colonel Grant.
This is earlier today.
And right there, on cue again, the President of the United States at 5:10 p.m. Tokyo time, 4:10 a.m. our time, walking down the steps, ready to greet the leaders there in Tokyo. And as we await the President's huge week in Asia, how can Trump use this first face-to-face with the Japanese Prime Minister to navigate, obviously, the thorny issue of tariffs while reassuring that Prime Minister of our commitment to remain a bulwark to China?
Well, this meeting actually is very important for setting the tone for subsequent meetings here, because as you've stated, the Japanese and the Americans have an alliance that really underpins the American presence, I'd say the free world's presence in Asia. And this is his first meeting with Prime Minister Takaichi. And it's good that they get off on the right foot, and I think they will. The Japanese are doing more for their own defense than they've ever done. They're increasing spending, and they understand that they need to do something about the trade relationship. So I expect the Japanese are going to announce that they're going to buy a whole lot of American energy, maybe American soybeans. As for the F-150s, I don't know about that.
Yeah, Colonel, East Asia is not an area of the world that is top of mind for Americans on a day-to-day basis. So what could this trip mean for us back here at home?
Well, actually, East Asia is of great importance to the United States. It probably should be at the top of the mind because we've got China, which is out to dominate us.
What's this weird fist shit that he's doing?
Has actually said, one of these two systems is going to survive, and it's not going to be ours. So this meeting and this good relationship that maybe gets started with the Japanese and with some other countries here is going to very much affect people in the United States.
Apparently, Trump has no friends to walk with him.
About their intentions. They always telegraph their punches, and it is an adversarial
it's a fist bump?
relationship. Maybe we don't recognize it now, but we will soon enough.
Let's get some specifics on that point, Colonel. What is Xi Jinping watching for specifically in this meeting, in this week of talks, while President Trump is over there, specifically today's talks with the Prime Minister of Japan?
Well, the Chinese are always gauging will, and in this case, it's the will to defend ourselves. And as I said, the Japanese-U.S. alliance is essential. The United States would be very hard-pressed on its own to defend its interests, to defend its presence in the Asia-Pacific without Japan. And the Japanese bases and the Japanese Defense Force itself is immensely important, thus it needs to get better. Japanese economic power in the region, Japanese political influence is immensely important. And if that is solidly aligned, it presents the Chinese communists with a very serious problem. It's how do you split that? How do you deal with that? And if the US and Japan are solidly aligned, you'll find some other countries want to get in on that as well. So from China's perspective, they want to see their adversaries
did I forget to
split
post
apart,
the link?
fussing with each other. And when they do look like they're getting along, it causes them a lot of trouble. And it's not just militarily, it's also economically, politically, psychologically. So this start in Japan is very important.
We just watched President Trump get off Air Force One and board Marine One, where he's going to fly to the Imperial Palace to meet with the Japanese Emperor. So we will bring you those images of the president's meeting with the Emperor when we get them. And when it comes to President Trump's meeting, Colonel, with the Japanese Prime Minister tomorrow, it's obviously going to be very important for her. She is very newly elected, just entered office last week, and she's the first female prime minister of the country. And the obvious discussion is going to be over trade, but the issue of Taiwan independence could also be a major focal point because no one has deeper ties to Taiwan than Japan, given the proximity 70 miles away. Do you think that the new prime minister will press Trump on defending Taiwan in the event of a Chinese attack? Do you think that that conversation will come up?
Well, it could come up. Japan is well aware of the importance of Taiwan, but oddly enough, they have almost no defense relationship with the Taiwanese.
What's the emperor, the American emperor going to meet with the Japanese emperor? It's a meeting of equals.
The Americans who are probably trying to get a commitment from the Japanese that in the event of something happening over Taiwan,
the dare
Japanese
button
will be with us.
Well, I
New
called
Prime
it the
Minister
panel
Takaichi
today,
herself
but dare
understands
will
the
be
importance
tomorrow.
of Taiwan. I think she would like to do more. So if there's a meeting of the minds, even implicitly,
What's up, Dave?
over Taiwan, it would be a very useful step because America obviously would have a hard
Hold
time
on one sec. Let me
defending
pause this. We're pretty much done with this video anyway. We get the point. What's up, Dave?
What's good with you, man?
Oh, nothing much. Same old, really.
Yeah, let's do some geopolitical talking, man. You go ahead.
Oh, I'm a domestic policy guy.
Oh,
I dabble in the geopolitics, but I don't particularly find it, interesting outside of how it affects domestic policy. But hey, you're an economics guy, so you kind of have to be. I'm a history guy. I'm just more interested in the American history part of it. Let's see. So,
what you think about I think that Donald okay, so all in all, I kind of think that they gotta reap a country, like take a country basically. And I don't think he joking.
You mean
about
Japan?
Nah, they ain't gonna take Japan. I was looking at
No. I'm sorry, I missed you. Who is the taker?
The United States.
How so? Can you define that? I don't even know what that means.
So every month we gotta it's expected somebody bring in like about $50 billion into the American economy to keep this whole cycle afloat of our debt.
Well, you mean paying off the debt? Yeah, okay.
Well,
but I mean, isn't tariffs? I mean, tariffs are the way I understand it. Trump is supposed to be, using some of this tariff money to pay down the debt at some point.
No, they just ruled the tariffs were illegal. The Supreme Court just ruled the tariffs was illegal. He got to get that money back to the people. Yeah.
Oh wait, how did I miss that?
I don't know, but he got to get that shit back.
Well, I didn't even know. I mean, they're supposed to hear the case. They already
heard that shit.
No, they didn't.
Go ahead, Oh God, I'm on my phone.
I'm looking at the Washington Post right now.
What it say?
It doesn't say anything because the case doesn't happen until November. They're actually going to hear the case. You're thinking of there was an appellate court that what is it? There's a specific court for trade and export.
Right.
They ruled it unconstitutional. Then an appellate court upheld it. So the actual Supreme Court case, which we will hear on this show, because I mean, we almost have to. I sometimes listen to. I keep up with the Supreme Court docket because occasionally there'll be a case that I want to hear live on this show. So no, they so far the
when does it come up?
Court's gonna rule. I'd have to look up the date, but it is in November.
This November.
Here we go.
Yeah,
and Juan is a lawyer. He keeps up with that stuff too.
Okay, oral arguments are next month. Okay, all right. So that makes sense because I remember them saying it was okay. What did he say? Didn't rule. You said it was an appellate or some shit that ruled that way.
Yeah, they allowed the temporary restraining order to stay in place, the TRO. But no, they haven't ruled. It's going to be interesting, and I definitely, if possible, will hear that case live. We do that here because
That'll
Sometimes,
be good.
sometimes the Supreme Court can be good entertainment.
Yeah, that'll be good. That's an important one.
Right. So let's see. Next, Trump threatens Canada with 10% extra import tax for not pulling down anti-tariff ads sooner. This is Trump being a child.
Yeah,
You know what?
basically.
He got pissed off. He does not take any sort of criticism or jokes or anything like that. And
No.
that's usually how bullies are. You know, they can joke.
He was
They
gonna
can
do
get
this
you, but
anyway.
they can't take it. Mhm.
He was gonna do this anyway, in my opinion.
Well, the thing is it you have to know it was it Ontario who let's see
Yeah, it
here.
was Ontario that put up the
Yeah,
ad.
so the Fords, I think that mayor of what was it? The mayor of one of they're two brothers. One is like the premier or whatever they call it, governor leader of Ontario,
Mhm.
and his brother was mayor of Toronto or something like that. He was both of them are kind of famous for just it's hard to describe them. They're just kind of raucous. They're drinkers. One, you know,
I know you
the,
talking about the
he
one
was the
big guy who was
Canadian,
on crack. Yeah, he was on crack. The
right?
big guy.
He was basically the white Canadian version of Marion Barry.
Yeah, I remember that shit.
Marion Barry. It was actually pretty entertaining.
They
So
said Marion
yeah,
was a good. They said Marion was a good mayor. I asked my buddy when all that
well,
shit
he
was going
was.
down, and they
He was
voted him
good
back
enough to
in.
get. He was good enough to get reelected at least
Right,
as a city councilman or whatever they call them. So
right. They said it was good. So
anyway,
shit, he just used crack.
so basically, Trump is threatening. Who knows what he'll do? But apparently, he thinks Canada is his client state, and they're not.
The way
They're
I'm
one of our
seeing a lot
biggest.
of this is, at what point in time do we just look and say this guy might be a foreign agent
Who?
sabotaging shit? Trump.
Trump?
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, like,
he's a chaos agent.
we're losing allies like crazy. We just pivoted from it looks like we pivoted from the Pacific back over to our hemisphere to deal with
No, he's over in Asia for a reason. We're still pointed at Asia. So this story is kind of out of order. I meant to talk about
Yeah, they
it
have a
before.
meeting for the first time. Xi and Trump. They're supposed to have it like either today or for the
Okay.
Asian
So
meeting.
they've reached some framework agreement on trade, and then Trump is in Japan. So let's see when this is going to
Okay.
happen.
Japan is screwed. Japan is pissed, actually. They're real pissed. They just voted in that the new lady just got inducted in
Yep.
her induction ceremony.
So let's see
Japan's
here.
in a quagmire because
They'll be all right.
their leading export partner is China, but they gotta, they just turned their Zumu class helicopter carriers into like mini aircraft carriers with that F-35B, the vertical one.
Right. As a matter of fact, I have a friend of mine who commanded one of the strike groups when I was. It was one of the strike groups. It's kind of odd how they have the Pacific carved up, but yeah, he's a 3-star now. Doing when we were ensigns.
Yeah.
And it's kept up for like 30 years. So anyway, that's where we are there. And speaking of potential overseas actions, U.S. forces close in on Venezuela. Lawmakers warn of expanding operation. I think this is going to be Donald Trump's Iraq.
Yes. Because we
Part
have
of
to reach
it is
somebody.
part of it is the oil. He's
All of
basically
it is the
afraid
oil.
he's afraid of China. China has a lot of involvement in the Caribbean and in Central and South America.
Yes.
And essentially, China would enable Venezuela to kind of thumb their nose at the U.S. And I guess Trump is trying to interdict or find a way. I don't think. I think a lot of this these drug boats he's blowing up.
That's bullshit.
I think it's bullshit. And speaking of that,
It's extrajudicial killing. Like
he's even got Republicans asking questions about it. The president said he would not seek congressional approval for his expanding military offensive against cartels, but some in his party believe Congress should weigh in. And bottom line is, thanks. We thought you all were asleep. There are a few other things Congress needs to be weighing in on. they have not. So maybe this is Congress waking up to the fact that Donald Trump has neutered all 535 of them. There is no Congress, in my opinion, right now.
You're correct. And it's weird how everybody's saying the shutdown is the Democrats, and I'm sitting over there looking at it like,
Oh,
wait a minute.
you're listening to the wrong people.
I know,
No, but
I know.
look at the polls.
I know what America is saying, and the majority of America. I'm just saying in that bubble that we know of. How
I exist outside looking into this bubble. Most of the people who talk politics in this particular sphere are numbskulls and have no clue what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So I just ignore them or mock them. Mocking them is more
I do mocking. They don't take highly to that. But that's
so
what
once again, we've got a Republican who's too little, too late. Schwarzenegger urges Californians to oppose Democratic redistricting. Dude, he should have been urging Texas not to do it. Maybe I missed it, and he did. But too late, Arnold. We're already knee deep into it.
Yeah, we're too far.
I was listening to someone over the week in the Trump administration, and they're already gearing up. Usually election season used to be that maybe it would be after the new year or something like that. Now Trump's already gearing up, asking for all these extra congressional seats because he knows, if I actually do wonder, even if the Democrats took the House next year, and I think they probably will. I think Republicans are going to lose some seats.
Yeah, I think they're going to lose the House.
However, I kind of wonder whether that even matters. He's been going around Congress so far, and to be honest, Congress really doesn't have a way to check the president if the president decides to do this unitary executive stuff.
Well, the House, like if the Democrats get the House, the ball game's over.
No, I don't agree with that.
No,
I think
the House right now is under GOP control, so they don't do.
Hold on one second. They will be able to check him in theory, but what has Congress really done lately? Trump is pretty much circumventing Congress. Russell Vought, and it should be Vought, not vote. Bottom line is they might be able to deal with Trump in the next budget cycle. This budget cycle is done. Okay. He's got the money in the treasury. He can do what he wants with it. Apparently, they might be able to check him next year.
That's what I mean.
And
That's exactly what I mean.
Right. And I'm not even sure that that will work. But we'll see. But we got to get there first. It's still not a foregone conclusion. they're doing all kinds of things to try and check, where they think the polls are indicating they'll be next year. And I was actually going to talk. I had a whole like an hour-long thing about unitary executive. I guess it's a bunch of Republicans or something talking about it, but I don't think I'm going to get to it today. Let's see, what else do we have here? Yeah, along the extra gerrymandering off the 10-year cycle, Indiana governor called special session to boost Republicans in Congress. So we'll see where it turns out. I still think. By the way, California is doing a special election, special referendum on redistricting come November 4th. So that's next week. So we'll see how that turns out.
Well,
so this didn't make a whole lot of news. And actually, I didn't hear about it. I just
saw
happened.
that at Howard.
No, well, one happened at Howard, but apparently one happened at Lincoln University also. So Lincoln University is recognized as the first college degree granting historically Black university. I didn't know that. And they only have 2,000 students. And the reason it kind of resonates is Nikki Haley's father was a professor at Lincoln University. She grew up on the campus, at least spent some time there because her father was a professor. So that's why it drew my attention. I was hoping maybe she would have something to say, but it doesn't appear she does. So it was considered a mass shooting. Let's see. Javier Milei won. Apparently, that $40 billion that Trump arranged for him basically allowed him to have a veto-proof majority. Basically, they don't have the votes to veto. And they must work differently. Maybe what they meant instead of veto, they meant overturn a veto. I bet that's what they meant. I might have read it wrong. But anyway, he's got a majority, a big enough majority in their legislature that, they can't stop him.
At some point, the U.S. is going to confront Brazil.
Well, Milei is Argentina.
I know.
Oh, you mean Bolsonaro? Nah, I don't think they're gonna confront Brazil.
I'm saying at some point it's gonna happen because here's what you gotta think. I firmly believe like by the end of I know you're still with the positioning of the Asia Pacific and all that other type of stuff, but looking at it strategically, we just don't have the shipbuilding capacity to contain China, period, over there. And I'm looking at it, and Brazil is in our sphere of influence, but Brazil is a part of BRICS. And
right. Well, I mean, is BRICS still a thing?
Yeah, it's definitely.
I had no clue. I hadn't heard. I hear the term every now and again, but they haven't been able to get it together. Apparently,
it's mostly when you granted, Brazil and India are really not like the ones that are going to push anything forward, but China and Russia, you might as well just say that they're linked at the hip anyway. But from what I'm seeing is that Brazil just did some of they agriculture sales to China straight up using the Brazilian what is this, the real and the yuan, and cutting out the US dollar. And I just been sitting here thinking like how eventually Brazil's going to come up on the USA's radar as opposition.
You and I disagree on that. Brazil's not important enough, to be honest.
Well,
it's not yet.
I mean, you could say that,
By the
but
way, Trump did impose a tariff on them. I forget the specifics of it, but he was pissed off that they even tried Bolsonaro. No, I'm sorry. Am I getting my countries mixed up?
no, Bolsonaro is Brazil.
Okay, so yeah, he's got a tariff on him of some sort. I don't know
Yeah,
exactly.
he
To be
definitely got a
honest,
tariff
what is
on him.
Brazil? What do we even import from Brazil? Bananas?
I thought it was something like soybeans or some shit.
Why would we do? Why would we import soybeans?
I
We
mean,
got
not import.
plenty of
No, I'm saying
soybeans right now.
no, I'm saying that oh, here's what happened. Shit. I should have been said this. All right. Wow, this was real. Okay, so and this is fundamentally why I'm saying eventually going to be an issue coming in on the US right now. So when Trump did the trade war with China, you know, the US farm industry was shipping all its soybeans to China. So once that trade war kicked off, China canceled all the orders and ordered it from Brazil. And not only that, the deal is not done in US dollars. Nobody's exchanging dollars. They're exchanging the Brazilian real and the Chinese yuan. So essentially China went into the open market, bought enough Brazilian reals to purchase their soybeans. And so the US farmer, it looks like their whole
Well, I
soybean
mean,
market.
basically, they have to buy soybeans. There's a tariff or something. I'm sorry. No, the U.S. farmers who do soybeans have a huge surplus because that's part of what China basically said. Hey, look, we're not going to buy your fucking soybeans. Your farmers can suffer. So that's why they go to Brazil. And Brazil's not the only place. And to be honest, um, to be honest, I'm we need to use more soybeans anyway. Let's figure out let's figure out how we can get creative and use our soybeans.
Well, until then, China's got the market. China, I mean, not the, China switched everything to Brazil, so that killed the U.S. market from what the U.S. farmers are saying.
Oh well, you know what? They voted for Trump. Let them suffer.
I know, right? I know, right?
So this is kind of off topic, but who could resist? So apparently Trump has made a bunch of changes besides the ballroom, which is garish. Let's see, what else has he done? Let's see, can we get specifics? So over the summer, Mr. Trump had the Rose Garden paved over. He paved over paradise with stone tiles and tables with yellow and white striped umbrellas. This mother, oh man, he's turned the White House into a resort.
You know what?
This is ridiculous. So he paved over the Rose Garden and a lawn, apparently. Huh. He calls it the Rose Garden Club. God damn, that motherfucker is garish. So Oval Office, Mr. Trump's affinity for gold decor is perhaps most evident in the Oval Office. Portraits framed in gold are mounted on the walls, along with gold-framed mirrors and gilded onlays. Even the presidential seal on the ceiling of the office is covered in gold leaf. Look at this. Look at. Let me see. Can I enlarge this? This is amazing. I mean, I knew there was a lot of gold. I didn't know it was like that. Damn, dude.
Yeah.
All he needs is like a fur jacket, and it'll be like a pimp.
I wanted to, that comment I made yesterday. with the battle between the German Americans and who's going to rule the white coalition.
I didn't have a show yesterday. You mean Saturday?
Yeah, whatever day that was last I was
Remind me of it again.
on. I can't remember. I just remember saying something about how a lot of this fascist revival is a byproduct
This
of
isn't.
the
This isn't. I wouldn't say it's a revival as much as a turning up the burner.
yeah
America has always had a fascist streak.
yeah
It's not that hard to go, authoritarian to fascist. Now, I don't know that we're actually there yet. There's some tendencies. I do actually think that if we can't get this president checked, it's going to wind up that way. Now,
yeah
the
I
only
agree.
thing, in my opinion, that's going to save us is that he's so unpopular. And um, I guess what I am very interested to see is if he. I've literally heard. Well, it was either yesterday or the day before. I mean, he's considering doing martial law. Now, I don't know how you do that from coast to coast,
That's not
but
happening.
he seems very willing to, hammer blue states. So we'll see how it shakes out. Now, the other thing I think is that most of his people are not that bright. For all their cruelty and stuff like that, people like Cash Patel, he's not that bright. Um, Russell Vaught might be bright, but he's one man, and being unelected, there's only so much he can do. So, and you know what? Bottom line, you heard Steve Bannon talking about.
Oh my
Maybe it was
god.
Bannon. It was Bannon that I heard it from. He did an interview with The Economist. Need to find that and show it. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow. But he's talking about, yep, Trump in 2028, and I I doubt that happens. Trump's showing his age. I'll put it that way. So let's see, what else did he do? The cabinet room. Mr. Trump's gold theme extends to the cabinet room, where he often holds meetings with his staff and occasionally with international leaders. So that's looking like Versailles, also. So, yep. Well, the good thing is all things must pass. All things must pass. Let's see. He also did something to the colonnade in September. Mr.
I don't
Trump.
know, man. I think that the Irish might wrestle away the crown of the coalition from the Germans.
What are you
They
talking about?
must. Um,
You mean Irish Americans?
yeah, I'm talking about what's going on in this country. Like,
Okay,
really,
what's
what's
tell
going
me
on?
what's going on in this country? I thought I had a good idea. Something's happening with the Irish and the Germans.
I don't know if you know really what the battle is about.
No, apparently I don't.
Hold
Enlighten
on,
me.
hold on.
Apparently, are you
Hold
sure
on,
you
hold
weren't talking about this on Bob's show?
on. Definitely not on Bob's show because they don't want to hear about that shit. Um, no. So what's happening is they fighting to basically figure out who the king of the white delegation here in America. And there's different groups
No,
and
I was
percentages.
not aware of this. Is this some conspiracy theory I'm not aware of?
No,
Because
this
the
is fact.
Irish,
This is
okay,
fact.
we have a king. We have a king.
No, I said who's gonna be ruling over the white coalition.
What's the white coalition?
The coalition of I would say the big three because there's only three of them that got 13%, and that would be Irish. Well, the number one is German. Irish American, and then the descendants of British American. Descendants of British. But you also got, so it's 5-13%. You know what I mean? Germany used to be 23% of the country. They've dropped down to like 13%. The Irish
You
are
mean
13%.
people with German heritage?
Yes, in America.
Okay, well, maybe what you should do is put a link in the back. I've basically seen it. I mean, it's really I wasn't aware.
Yeah,
I've heard of this.
yeah, but so whites had individually, they never had a individually, probably up to like 1940. African Americans, if you just took it individually, took race out of it and just dealt with nationalities in America, African Americans would be the most populous, right? So they had to make the white coalition to basically outnumber the African Americans. So they made a coalition that is what you're saying. What everybody says is the white majority. The white majority is not one single nationality. It is a combination of the white nationalities, which is number one, German, second, Irish American, third, the descendants of British. Of course, you got the Italians in there. Ever since the Mexicans became 13%, that's what this push out is about. Like, hey, you're one
Hey,
of the
where did
foundations.
you derive this knowledge from?
You just have to ask Google what are the percentage breakdowns of nationalities in America, and they'll tell
Okay,
you.
so this is your theory.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was something that a
Well, the
bunch of
whole
people
the white majority that's not a theory. That's a fact of what makes the white majority. But
Okay, no,
my theory.
sir. Let me warn you right now. I tend to know politics fairly well. I tend to know that white people are not factionalized, at least not historically. Yeah,
Not
you'll
what?
have. I mean, what you're talking about is more like if you've ever read Colin Woodard. He wrote a book called "The 12 Nations of America." But I mean, there are certain things that it really comes down to race, and race and ethnicity are not the same things. They can be sometimes, they can intersect, but in the end, white is different than German or Swedish or whatever.
Yeah, I understand that, but in order to maintain political power, a
Okay,
coalition had to be formed to
okay.
secure a majority.
I look forward to your white paper on the topic.
Is that a polite way of saying let's move on?
Well, yes, but I mean, it sounds like you have facts and figures. Put it in a white paper.
For what? It's like common knowledge.
No, I don't think it's common knowledge.
In Chicago,
You
it
and I
is.
will. Well, Chicago's not America.
We got all the different groups here.
I'm literally telling you right now, Chicago is not anywhere in Georgia.
Stan, how do you think that majority was made, man? This is historical. You're a historical guy, right?
Okay, well, you're trying to project Chicago politics
No,
on
no,
the
that was a
United States.
sidetrack. I'm trying to stick to how is it that you don't understand how
Oh,
that
no.
majority came about?
I understand that I've never heard of this novel theory, and I think you should
But when I bring up how this majority came about, you keep saying you don't know. But
Okay,
then now
no,
you
I
know.
don't. No, I don't know, and apparently you are the only one who does know.
No, everybody knows this. Like, how am I the only one that knows
No,
it? And
I
they say
have
white majority. I didn't make up the
I
term
have
white majority.
literally never heard this theory before.
So you've never heard of white majority?
I know that the way, if you measure it racially, that white people are about 56% of the country. They don't
What is that
specify.
56? What is that
Okay,
comprised
go
of?
and look at a census. That's kind of where I come from. Look at the census They don't break it down by white ethnicity, other than for Hispanics. There's Hispanics non-white and
Never
Hispanics
mind,
white
man.
or something like
Oh
that.
God.
What's up, Juan? Okay, well, dude, like I said, I'm always willing to learn. What's up, Juan? What say you?
Nothing much, Stanley. I'm also interested. I want to learn about this new National
Your
Association
mic.
event.
Hold on one second. Let me see. Can I fix your mic? Juan, there's something up with your mic. It's real clicky.
Yeah, it's real
Not quite
clicky.
robotic.
Let me log off and log back in.
Yeah,
All
do
right.
that because I can't. It's grayed out on my side. So what were you saying, Dave?
I was saying how I didn't make up the phrase white majority. I didn't make up the white coalition. I thought this was like common knowledge.
No, it's not common knowledge. And if there is a white coalition, it sounds like a Chicago phenomenon.
No, it is a
And I
national
read quite a
phenomenon.
bit. I read quite a bit on race and race
Well,
relations
you
and
need to read up
racism.
on this because you're missing a main part of America if you don't know this.
No,
Like
I
this
don't
is
think
a Chicago thing.
I don't think I am.
I think you are, sir. If you don't know
And I don't
what
think I am. But we're at loggerheads. We should move on because I'm not gonna until you can produce
well, I don't know
something
how we
that
can
I
have.
can read.
I can't keep commenting on these things that you're talking about.
Okay, well
If you're
that's
just
fine. Let's move on.
okay.
Apparently we're at loggerheads on this. So thank you, Uncle Fatty, for finding this clip. Unfortunately, at my age, apparently, I can't multitask. I can't talk, find clips, and switch tabs. So this is CNN, and this is Trump talking about his. This is Bannon talking about a Trump third term.
I don't know how you
Trump
can
28.
even
Trump is going to be
accurately
president.
dissect this shit without not knowing what a white majority is. Like I'm really baffled on how
I
you
know what a white majority is.
or
I
what
just
makes
never
it
heard
up.
it. I don't need to know.
You, how are you going to understand what's going on in America right now if you don't know the categories of the majority?
Who is the we you're speaking of?
I didn't say we. I said
You
how
are
are
you are the only one I've
you? There
ever
was no.
heard.
I didn't say
I
we. I
don't
said
need
how are you?
I don't need to understand it. It is your theory. It's yours. I don't need to
It's not a
understand your
theory.
theory.
This is the white majority is not a theory, and what it's
Okay.
comprised of is not a theory.
You keep switching back and forth. All I need to know is a white majority. I don't need to know the breakdown. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. In order to understand
And
what's
I
going on in
disagree.
America, you
We
honestly
keep
need to understand that
disagreeing.
breakdown, or else
No,
you're not
I
giving a good
honestly do
analysis of
not.
what's happening.
I honestly do not. You and I disagree on this. Let's move on, unless Juan wants to weigh in.
Juan, please weigh in.
Can you guys hear me now?
Shit, no. It's horrible.
John says to turn off the audio assist in StreamYard. Does that make sense?
There is no audio stress, but
I don't know how he's gonna.
there is no audio stress, but I hear the clicking as well. But that's not from me. I hear it from you guys when I'm listening to the YouTube thingy or whatever.
Hold on one sec. How about echo cancellation? Or there's another setting about one that blocks out the background noise. I can't think of the name of it. Hold on one sec. Let me have a look at my audio settings. I guess I will find out what it's called. Audio. Yeah, the reduce mic background noise. Just take off the echo cancellation and reduce in the other checkbox, reduce mic background noise, and see if that helps. I bet it's the background noise one, because the way it's like it keeps cutting out.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Still kind of clicky. Did you uncheck those two?
Yeah.
Okay, you know what? We'll just have to suffer through it. Okay, I can understand what you're saying.
I was just simply saying I want to be enlightened on this new National Association for the Advancement of White People myself. This is new to me.
Well, so Dave, it's Juan is interested in your ideas.
One, the term white majority specifically comes from an amalgamation of different European groups. Number one, German. German pretty much after 1930, I would assume. Definitely after the World War II ended. Uh, was historically hovering around 23% of all Americans. So they held the rulership title of the white majority, followed by the Irish Americans, which historically has always sat between 16 and 13% of the population, followed by the descendants of the British, which is always hovering around between 10 and 13%. Those three, and then you add on all other the Polish, all the other ones that are considered within the white majority. That's what added up to the 50 plus 1% of what people call white majority. It's a coalition.
Okay. Is it like a social? I mean, is this in a sociology book? I mean, where'd you get this idea?
And Google Gemini doesn't count.
I mean, I kind of get what you're saying, but it's not like that. I mean, it's more culture, like you know how the Irish assimilated into um, WASP culture, that sort of thing. There was a whole bunch of assimilation, especially with the Irish and the Italians, for instance.
Well, the
To
Irish and
make,
Scottish.
I mean, white is strictly race, not ethnicity.
Hello?
Yeah,
Hello?
you were hung up there for a minute, Dave.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you
hear you.
now.
Oh, I guess not. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Yes.
Hello? Hello? One,
Apparently.
2, 3. 1, 2, 3.
man.
I'll
I
call
don't
back.
think you can hear us, Stanley.
I can. Oh yeah, he'll come back. He was hung up, and then it was like his phone was fast forwarding. Apparently, something got buffered. But I
Possibly.
have no clue what he's talking about.
Well, no, there was some assimilation, literally what you were talking about. The Scots and the Irish. I mean, in your neck of the woods and in North Carolina, where I'm originally from, you had Scots Irish for the longest time. The Germans didn't come until much, much later.
Not that much later. I mean, they were still here in the 1600s. Remember, they were Pennsylvania. A bunch of them settled in Pennsylvania.
You're right. They settled in Pennsylvania. Some of them settled in Western New York. The Quakers, and I forget the other one. The Calvinists.
Yeah, Quakers and well, let me put it to damn it, Shakers maybe.
I'm not sure, but
Let me put it to you this way: my wife's grandmother was of that Pennsylvania German stock, Pennsylvania and Ohio eventually. So but in today's, I think Dave is looking at American politics through a Chicago lens, where you got the Polish and all kinds of inter like interracial minorities that jockey. The only time I've ever heard like the Irish and the Germans, would be New York politics, like the Tammany Hall stuff, or Chicago. I mean, I know Georgia politics, Southern politics. It's never worked that way.
I don't think it ever will. We operate different in the South. But you know that, I mean, even in Texas, and parts of the South, I mean, everything's different from other places as well. I'll give you an anecdote, Stanley. I was part of the Delegación del Estado 51, where we were promoting for Puerto Rico to become the 51st state. And the ex-governor, I love him to death. He came in and he was like, "We need you guys to, get with every Democrat faction, and all of us, in that office in Houston, we're like, wait a minute. A lot of us are Democrats, or a lot of us are centrists, and we don't caucus with the Democrats. How is this going to work? And that was where he had his big surprise. Like, yeah, we have this common interest, but our politics are totally different. And then, of course, I had to explain that even in South Texas, it's not party affiliation. It's basically who's going to bite the hand. Can't live out on the mordida, which is another way of saying who's going to grease the palms, pretty much. And it was like they didn't get that in that regard. So I don't know. I mean,
Dave, any response?
Yeah. So, what you're seeing now is so the coalition function to have a political majority and control everything, right? As long as this coalition is providing a benefit and eating, and money and power, yeah. But what's happening is that the coalition is providing less and less tangible benefits, as far as, hey, we have to coalesce around each other because the opposition is the Hispanics, the Asians, and the Black people, of course, right? That coalition, as far as yielding tangible benefits, is the tangible benefits are diminishing as America is the empire that it is diminishing, right? And as that's happening,
No, I don't agree that it's diminishing. I think that if this is just a loose term, and the only term I can think of, white privilege is diminishing. Hence, you have this, the fears about, getting rid of illegals. There's all kinds of culture like, oh, hey, we want to orient the immigration policy to favor Europeans, Northern Europeans, South Africans, for instance, who have less of a problem assimilating in their culture, because every immigrant brings their culture to a certain extent with them. It's easier for, say, someone from Britain or Sweden or somewhere to assimilate into American culture, or even someone from South Africa, than, say, someone from, say, an African country or an Asian country. But I haven't heard whiteness being, combed with a fine tooth comb to break out, factions within what we would call white. I haven't heard anything like that.
Okay.
And to your point, Stanley, usually it's the second generation. Like if you're like African from Nigeria, or if you're from Guatemala, it's what your kids and their kids, second, third generations, that usually complete the assimilation process, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. And by the time, as a matter of fact, I've heard, and it's been years since I've even, heard about it, but by like the third and definitely the fourth generation, they don't even speak the mother tongue, don't feel the need to do it. And you've seen those stats, one where like the first generation does really well, the second generation does really well. By the time the third or fourth generation comes down, they're so assimilated they don't do as well as their parents and grandparents.
Yeah, that was a good one.
There is a thing in American culture that seems to promote a sense of entitlement. Why would a fourth generation person not do as well? You would think, they somehow or another, they lose motivation by the third or fourth. And I can only interpret that as some sort of sense of entitlement.
No, it's not that. It's the actual government support and benefits and easy restrictions, they run out. So anybody that's coming here is going to have a certain amount of access to programs that, a normal.
No, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
I mean, God damn, Stan, I can't even finish. You're getting to the point where I can't even finish a sentence.
Well,
Where you just say,
welcome to Stanley versus the world.
Shit is weird.
Hey, I'm not Bob's channel. I don't even feel the obligation to let people complete sentences.
I see.
It's a little different over here. We know our politics. I'll put it that way.
How? When you didn't even know what the hell made up the white majority?
Okay, and you and I disagree on your novel theory.
It's not a theory. This is coming back. This is American knowledge.
This is literally
No,
not
wait a
American
minute.
knowledge.
Okay, well, what is the white majority then?
It's the white majority.
What is it comprised of? Who?
I don't need to know.
So how do you know about the white majority?
Okay, let me give you just an example.
If you don't even know what it makes up, how are you an expert at it?
I just finished up a book called The Racial Contract, and it was broken. And by the way, this book is considered kind of like seminal. As far as if you're going to look at America and race. It literally breaks down Western culture into white and non-white. It doesn't break any. It's white and non-white. So I tend to look through certain lenses at American culture, and I literally see white and non-white, or white and black. Works also, but now this break Germans versus the English versus I've
You're
never
laughing,
heard it
but the shit is playing out across the it's hard.
And you and I disagree on
it's
that.
hard for you to be talking about national internal politics without
let me
understanding
just
how the internal is affecting it.
Let me be blunt. I know more about politics than you do. And number
What's
two,
up, nigga? Where that nigga go?
He'll be back. Economists make the worst cultural critics. Glenn Lowry is no exception. Even he has some novel theories that I kind of shake my head at. I've literally never heard it broken down. But I'm not a scholar of any of this stuff, but let's just say I'm an amateur at it, but I've read a lot of it over the years. I've never heard the internecine fight within the whites, the Germans fighting. I've never heard it, unless you're talking gang warfare, like down on the street. So, what's up, tough guy?
What's happening, man?
Oh, nothing much. I'm hoping Dave will come back.
Yeah, I just came on and nigga. He must have got a call or something.
No, yeah, maybe he was in his car.
Yeah, he must have got a call. Because they just cut off immediately. And sometimes StreamYard will cut you off if you get a call or a text, but sometimes that should be hella sensitive. But yeah, man, so what's going on? Tell me something new.
Nothing new, other than as soon as we listen to this Steve Bannon clip, I have a couple videos here. One, well, two of them are kind of like about the feminization of America, which I'm usually not even that interested in that claptrap. However, Helen Andrews, for some reason or another, I find her interesting. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to play this. I'm listening. I'll be right back. But let's play what Mr. Bannon had to say over the weekend. I think it was over the weekend or Friday. Yeah, Steve Bannon.
I heard that.
He was a naval officer, by the way. Believe it or not, he did kind of the same job I did.
Yeah, I heard that.
28, and people just sort of get accommodated with that.
So what about the 22nd Amendment?
There's many different alternatives. At the appropriate time, we'll lay out what the plan is, but there's a plan, and President Trump will be the president in 28.
There's a plan. Former White House chief strategist and OG MAGA man, Steve Bannon, once again claiming Donald Trump will end up with a third term. He is, of course, not alone. President Trump himself has suggested running again multiple times. He is even selling Trump 2028 merch, both online and at the White House. The demolition of the East Wing this week has also added some fuel to this fire. Would you totally renovate a house that you were about to move out of? It all comes as President Trump tries to assert new authority over elections and putting election deniers into positions of power. My panel and our arena text chain are back. Brad Todd is.
I want to make one point here, though. Bannon said Trump would be president in 2028. He did not say Trump would be elected. Of course, he'll be president in 2028 up until January 20th, when, the traditional inauguration day. So Bannon, I wonder if Bannon isn't kind of yanking a chain or two here. He said president in 2028, and technically
No, these white
he
people
will
be
be.
serious, nigga. These white people
Well,
be
he
serious.
could very well be, and try and refrain from the N word.
Nigga, who you know you're talking to?
Oh,
Damn, Stanley, why you always do
I
that?
know who
Why you
I know
why,
who whoa.
why you be doing that to me?
I know who I'm talking to. That's why I'm asking you not to do it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna try. I almost said my nigga. See,
apparently that's all I can hope for. But anyway, let's get back to this.
President Trump going to run in 2028?
No, and he doesn't think he can.
He doesn't think he can.
He doesn't think he can.
Say more.
Yes, it's. I think that Steve Bannon, Jared Kushner once called Steve Bannon a suicide bomber in his time in the White House, and I think that that's probably this is another effort to stir up trouble and get clicks. I do tell you that if there was a plan, I don't think they would do it in an interview with The Economist. I mean, I love The Economist. I subscribe to The Economist, but that's not where this news would break.
What do you think, Adrienne?
Look, I mean, I appreciate your optimism, and I hope you're right. But I think we have to take this seriously. I mean, I completely agree with the way you laid out at the beginning of this segment, Casey, which is, first of all, you don't do a giant overhaul, which is highly controversial, of the East Wing of the White House, completely demolishing it, if you're only going to be there for the next 3 years or so. So that feels a little, iffy there.
Maybe he plans on attending many balls there.
Yeah, perhaps. Maybe he's looking to some Vance Rubio balls in like 2029 and 2030 in his own mind. But look, I think it's something that we should all take very seriously. It's certainly something that legal scholars, both independent and within the Democratic Party apparatus, are looking at very seriously. We've been looking at this for a very long time, because what we don't want to have happen is get caught flat-footed and not have a plan in place should he actually decide to go forward with this.
I should say, as someone covering the White House, I know reporting that there's the plan that Bannon is describing here, and I think it's important to emphasize the former when you introduced him to as a former strategist in the White House who's on the outside here. But look, we have heard the president muse about this, joke about 2028. He has the hats as well. And we wrote earlier this year that even if there's not a concrete plan here, there is a political strategy. He's often thrown out 2028 when his White House is being criticized for a certain issue or a certain crisis. So then there's a distraction. It keeps the spotlight on him. It also keeps people guessing in a way. We were talking
just trolling. I mean, is
there's
that part
also,
of it?
I mean, we know this White House there's no shortage of trolling online as well, and sort of the quote unquote owning of the Dems and the libs. I do think the spotlight part here is important, and I think there's a link between this and also the construction of the ballroom, which is even when he leaves the White House, he wants a certain stamp of his to be on the White House. And,
well, that stamp is already there.
And that stamp is there. Well, it's
part
actually
of it is
a crater
gone
right now,
exactly.
right? East Wing. But he wants people to remember sort of the Trump era even when he leaves.
You know
what? Too bad I'm not going to be president. The next president, as the first thing I would do would be to assign an executive order demolishing that ballroom. That's assuming it's even going to be built.
What I will say is that this is incredibly triggering to Democrats. And, people use the word trolling. I don't know that this is trolling necessarily. what I would say is that this doesn't come out of a vacuum. I mean, this was a president who tried to launch an insurrection on January 6th. This is a president who's still trying to litigate the 2020 election. This is a president who is putting people in positions of power that has to do with our next election too, that are election deniers. I mean, there is a lot of, there are many things that could lead one to believe that it is not beyond the realm of possibility. We wouldn't be saying this if this were Biden. We wouldn't be saying this if this were Obama. It wouldn't even be a subject of discussion.
Using the National Guard in ways that could,
well, and
be helpful
speaking
in
of
2026 midterms.
Adrian, speaking of the way that things become part of the conversation, this was Maggie Haberman talking to Vanity Fair. She says this: he clearly enjoys knowing that it bothers Democrats that he says this about a third term, but there is a troll aspect. But the thing with all of his trolls is they start out that way, like Canada as a 51st state, and then he socializes them. They take on a life of their own, or he breathes more of a life into them.
I mean, Maggie is the queen of covering Donald Trump, and she knows what's going on in his brain, and she's a great analyzer of his thoughts. I mean,
yeah, well, bottom line is it doesn't really. What's up,
Dave,
Nidus? How you
go,
doing?
nigga? Where that nigga Dave go? Nidus, get on the panel.
I
Where
don't know.
Dave go?
Well, it is the middle of a work day. He might be working.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So bottom line is we will wait and see. Now
That is true,
the
man.
other thing,
Niggas like you and me, we don't work.
well, the other
you already put in your time.
right. The other thing we need to realize is, Donald Trump, age will put a shelf life on you. 2028 is not guaranteed.
Right.
So,
especially with that type of attitude that nigga got, he crazy. That nigga Donald Trump.
Well, you know what? That attitude will keep him alive. It's like it's always the people who you want to go away who never go away.
That's actually true. Huh?
So this is this video actually caught my attention. I guess Big Discussion 76 is in the BGS orbit, if not an acolyte. So he and this guy, what is it? What's this dude's name? Jeff St. James. Start talking about, basically relationships and all that jazz. And again, I don't usually talk about relationship stuff because I find all this stuff kind of boring. But I thought these two brought up some decent points. And then the next is going to be Helen Andrews talking about the feminization of America, which I think is just crazy talk. What's up, Nida?
Not really.
How you doing, Stanley? What's the name
Pretty
of this
good.
channel right here with these two?
What up,
brothers?
nigga?
Oh, it's
I'm not
you know
finished.
what? I need
Wait,
to
wait.
start
First,
doing
let me
that.
Say this. Let me say this first before I would get into it with Stanley, because you got an old YN up here. This nigga tough guy. Any kind of dark skinned dude with braids is questionable. But go ahead.
Shut your
What's
ass
the name
up.
of this channel right here?
Well, I mean, I've known him for a while. You get used to the questions, and sometimes you don't even ask them.
That nigga Nidus, you a fool. I ain't know your old ass yet. Why everybody call me an old ass YN? They be saying I look young and shit. That's so funny. I think you started that shit, Nidus, calling me a damn YN.
It is what it is, right? What's the name of this channel right here?
I
Stanley?
just dropped it. It's Big Discussions 76. And I just I can't remember, either he wandered into my algorithm or CKJ3 sent me the link. I watched a show of his. No, you know what? It was Fred who sent me a link. and I watched half of his show with some other writer last week, and then this I subscribed to the channel. It popped up, and this guy's some sort of scientist. The guy on the left, Big Discussion 76, and Jeff St. James wrote a book and has a podcast called Ask a Brother Podcast.
Okay.
So it was I'm starting halfway in. Well, a little bit less than halfway in, actually, about a fifth of the way in. But anyway, I'm not going to listen to the whole thing. There's about 30 minutes of it I found fairly interesting. The other thing is he's in that black Gnostic sphere of influence. So I find that crowd interesting, but I don't want to be a part of it. I just find him interesting.
Yeah, I recognize the brother with the hat look like a MAGA hat, but I don't know the older guy. Well, what they talking about?
Well, they're talking about relationships. Basically, it's shitting on black women. You know, it's just a little bit fancy and a little bit more sophisticated.
A sophisticated way of shitting on black women. Okay, let's listen.
Right. However, the guy on the right does make some good points. That's why I'm listening to it. Like I said, it's fairly sophisticated. He's a counselor, I think he said. So let's hear what he's got to say. And again, I'm not listening to all of it, just the part that I found interesting.
A lack of trust in ourselves, a lack of trust in the opposite sex or the other gender. And, I think what happened now with so many people going to therapy is they're using a lot of therapy words to describe very normative things and experiences. Like everything isn't trauma. Every person in your past isn't a narcissist. But that's a thing now where I think because so many more people, especially women, are going to therapy now more, they're now diagnosing people that they got no business claiming is this or claiming is that. And taking on identities to things that aren't even totally accurate. In reality, a lot of times what they're calling trauma is really just bad decision making on their part. And now, when you're sad and depressed and upset about how things unfolded, now I'm traumatized. That's not trauma, number one. But based off of what you just said previously or earlier about the whole comparing dating today and relationships today to what it was 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, that likelihood of people having increased rates of anger and bitterness and lower amounts of trust, that's a real thing because so many more people nowadays having so many more failed experiences with the people they're dating and getting into relationships with. If the divorce rates are high, if people are sleeping with more people than ever before, and a huge percentage of people are not in long-term committed relationships or even married, that means that they're building up a roster of experiences that ultimately weren't positive, weren't helpful. And many of them are bringing those into the next situation or relationship and wondering why things aren't working. A lot of it is because they didn't take the time to process how they kept getting themselves in the previous situations, what they needed to learn different, and what it is that they needed to do different. So unfortunately, that's more or less what I think is happening.
He's an intellectual, but he's long-winded.
That comparison.
Hey, Stanley, can you pause it? He's an intellectual, but he's long-winded. And I know Ask a Brother podcast. I know exactly who he is. He's a therapist.
Oh, really?
And that hat says make masculinity great again. So
right.
I understand what he's saying to women, but this is what my peer view. Women don't want to be better. They like this situation here. They don't want to be in marriages. They say the things that they traditionally used to do is slavery now. So I was on a panel the other day and we had this same discussion. And I think people let that run over their head. They were telling me, no, let what he just said marinate. I'm going to say again, women are comfortable with being whores. I think that fourth wave feminism is all about sexual liberation, owning their body. This is what they say. I'm listening to them. They say it's about owning their bodies, sexual liberation, and doing what puts them in a position where they feel like they have their own autonomy. And to me, when I listen to it, they just want to be prostitutes. But you can let it play.
Well, let me respond to that. At some point in the next few minutes, he talks about his second wife. And maybe I'll just wait for him to make his point. But my direct response is, why do you care? If women want to do that, there is someone for everyone, which he will get to in just a minute. Not in those words, but the result is there's someone for everyone. You can't marry women. You marry a woman, and hopefully that woman is compatible. Otherwise, you don't. I mean, I suspect sometimes, and it's almost like white incel boys. They get mad with rejection. The one thing that hasn't changed in the last 30, 40, 50, 60 years is rejection. Guys have been getting rejected by women since Adam and Eve. So don't get upset, move on.
Yeah, you shouldn't care, but I think that a lot of these women that you will marry, you got to look at it like it's a season. And
you and I will never agree on that. Find the right woman and give it a try. I think going in with like it's essentially a prenup. You need to follow and I need to lead. Fuck all that. It's boring. It's unromantic. And just, if you feel comfortable, don't, give it a couple years. No one is saying you have to get married at, part of the problem is waiting forever to get married. And I kind of ran into that myself. But even so, don't plan, you might have an inkling, but, it'll take maybe a year or two, if at all.
Well, to me,
I lucked out. I knew when I met my wife, she was going to be my wife. It was just that sort of feeling. But I mean, lightning doesn't happen in a bottle like that.
Yeah. To me, the majority of my life, I've been married. To me, I'm a husband. I don't know nothing about being a boyfriend.
Well, that's actually a good point, and I've heard you make it before. Dude, you're deliberate. You're what's the word? Not deliberate. You're doing it with a purpose. You don't date. And I'm the same way, Ninish. Having been married once, I know how I loved it. And I'm not gonna accept, second best. Now the problem is I may wind up comparing women to my wife, which is unfair.
Yeah, that's unfair because everybody's individuals. But when I look at the current state of things, when we have Aisha Curry, we have Michelle Obama, we have Giselle Bundchen. These are all women that was married to powerful men, and they walked away, and they felt like they should have been somehow equally.
Well, Michelle Obama hasn't walked away, has she?
Well, my understanding is that Obama is messing with or I don't know if he still is messing with the what's the white actress name?
Oh, I didn't believe that. The Friends actress, I forget.
Yes, her.
Jennifer Aniston.
Jennifer Aniston. So when I looked at that interview with Michelle and her brother, who seems highly suspect, having an interview with Obama, his leg was crossed. I was like, I've never seen more of a suspect interview in my life. Obama was like, you guys don't have enough gay friends. And then I think about the fact when Obama was in office, he put the rainbow over the White House.
Well, he didn't exactly say that.
What did he exactly say? I watched.
Well, he was talking mentorship. Like if you're some young black gay male, there aren't a lot of mentors who are gay. That was his point.
Even with that, that sounds
Well, no,
wild.
it's. Yeah, I don't think he meant anything beyond that. They were
That's cool.
talking about
As a young,
mentorship.
I understand what you're saying. So as a young gay man, you need a old gay man to make you be comfortable in your gayness.
If that's what a mentor does, I don't know what a gay mentor does.
I know what mentors do. Listen, as a mentor, mentors help you to be better in whatever. So as a young, for example, I had a bunch of uncles that was into contracting, and one of them was into he did a landscaping. I had another one that was into construction. What they mentored me into was understanding planning and being able to have nurseries with when it came to the landscaping part. And then the construction part, it was about making sure you have all your materials and you have it all plotted out so that you make it happen quickly. So I understood that. I got comfortable in both situations, in the nursery, the landscaping, and the construction, whatever else. That's what those mentors were. But when
Well, that's
I'm
on the job training.
yeah, that's on the job training, right? So when I listen to him say you need older mentors in that situation, so you need an old gay man to teach you how to be a.
Okay, well, again, I think you're taking it slightly out of context. I hear all the time in this blackosphere, or whatever you call it, how single mothers can't teach young boys how to be a man.
Well, that's a lie.
I guess. Well, I have problems with that too. But what I'm saying is that if if young boys or young teenagers need a male influence, that's pretty much the vein he was talking in.
Yeah, so I disagree that black mothers don't understand how to raise strong men, because if the black women know strong men, they'll put those strong
Exactly. That's my
around their young sons, and those sons will be perfectly fine.
Right.
I
agree with that point.
And I would say that the majority of young men have those kind of mothers is going to make sure that they're okay. It's a minority of those men that will be wayward because their moms and their family. A lot of people just don't know the information. The reason why W.E. Du Bois had a problem with his Talented 10th is because his Talented 10th didn't come back and help those people that was behind them. But I think a lot of these women do understand, like that movie Boys in the Hood. She went and took her son Trey to his father, and his father, that's why out of all them boys, he was the one that survived in the end. He got out of that car.
Well, you and I will disagree. Number one, Du Bois didn't come up with the term. That's I forget who did, but he borrowed it and got famous for it. But the bottom line, I think Du Bois's and all the other people who believe in that Talented 10th, their actual problem is thinking once someone gets successful, they're going to want to come back to, the hood or their little podunk town. My father came from a small town in South Georgia, and he went to visit his parents. We used to stay there, over the summer for a month or something like that, but he never moved back. So I think it's unreasonable to expect the Talented 10th to go forth and, have the obligation or even the inclination to come back. Why would they?
Because they are a minority in a place where other people are trying to oppress people.
You and I'll just have to disagree on that.
Do you disagree with that? You don't think
Yes.
there's people that are trying to put their foot on your neck and keep you down?
Absolutely there are.
And
but I still say
one second. So if you find a Da Vinci Code in a way to get out, you would say fuck them other people that don't.
No, I don't think you have to go that far with it. All I said is I think it's unreasonable for someone to leave home, get successful out in the wide world, and feel an obligation to come back. If they do, great. If they don't, fine. It's not like black people are any less human than any other minority or the majority. They're human. Maybe you don't want to go back to Podunk, Georgia.
Now, I'm not saying you need to go back, but what I'm saying is I got a picture behind me of a man that's on a wall reaching up, and it's another man reaching down to him to try to pull him up. You can leave. You don't have to go back, but whatever knowledge that you found that can uplift your brother, why wouldn't you uplift him?
Is it not enough to raise your kids with that knowledge?
No, it's not enough.
Okay, well, you and I will disagree.
So to me, that's individualism.
That's exactly what it is. Now, I'm not saying it has to be all individualism. I'm a big right tool for the right job kind of guy. There are times when you will want to join a team or go back or what have you, but there's no obligation. You're as free to choose your path in life as any other person. And, black people are not salmon. You don't have to go back up river to spawn.
Yeah. That would be where we would disagree.
Yeah, well, I mean, disagreement's fine. Who is this guy? Is this the generational filth guy? No fucking idea what that is, what that means. And Fred, you were the one who told me about this channel. You sent me a link last week. I thought it was you. But I subscribe to the channel, so whenever he puts someone on that I'm or holds an interesting conversation, I'm not above showing him.
Are you comfortable with that, or have you had to tell people, look, I'm doing my own thing. It's cool that you think about me when you think about him, but how do you feel when people make that comparison?
I'm cool with it. I listen, the Kevin Samuels 2.0. I think it's funny. I think we're very different. I think my tone is different. Our style is different. Our field of expertise is different. I think outside of the fact that we talk about these issues, and I think both him and myself are pretty good at articulating what we think.
Hey, Stanley, can you pause it again? One second.
Probably is. I actually don't see a lot of.
I do not think he's Kevin Samuel 2.0. I don't even think that he talks about the same thing that Kevin Samuel said.
Yeah, I agree. Well, number one, he's some sort of expert, at least therapist and stuff.
Yeah,
He basically said it. He knows what he's talking about.
Significant comparisons to us. Honestly, he's old. He was older than I am now, and he was involved in fashion and image consulting. And obviously, I'm on the therapy end. But he spoke on a wide variety of things, as will I. And we're just like anybody else. We just have we have our own unique perspective, and we're comfortable with being able to say and share it in front of men. And
I haven't checked. Does he have a YouTube show? YouTube presence.
Yeah, he does. Yes, he does.
Okay, I'll subscribe to his channel too.
His channel is Ask a Brother.
Okay, let me see, can I find it?
And women, and that's basically it. I took on the moniker Godson because I just thought, instead of people kept saying Kevin 2.0 or Kevin reincarnated, I think him being referred to as the Godfather and me being referred to as the Godson is kind of cool. That's kind of it. I mean, I'm not offended by it for sure. There's always the people that's like, oh, Kevin was better, or he ain't on the level of Kevin Samuels. I wasn't aiming to be Kevin Samuels or even to replace him.
Pause it for 1 second.
But I'm, like I said, I'm not offended by it.
His channel is Ask a Brother with Jeff St. James.
Right. I just subscribed to it.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm back. I had to eat while I was cooking. What's going on, players?
So, what did you eat, or would you cook?
Sardines, hard salami,
I got
ramen
biscuits.
noodles.
I got potatoes and eggs,
Yeah. We knew you got a prison spread. You eating a
and I
prison spread.
got this turkey's kielbasa. I got some turkey kielbasa, some biscuits, some potatoes and eggs, with some green peppers and some red peppers.
No, he said Kimmy said it was turkey kielbasa.
Yeah. He got a prison spread.
However, I have no problem.
Turkey kielbasa.
As a matter of fact, I have kielbasa
Don't
cut
ever
thin
put a
for a
do not
for a
ever
pizza
put a
I'm gonna make
glizzy on
tonight.
camera. Tough guy.
It's cut in half.
I don't care if it's cut in half. Don't ever do that again.
Well, it's good to me.
And don't ever talk about a turkey glizzy being good to you. What is happening right now?
What are you eating? You're eating salami and turkey kielbasa?
No, I mean turkey kielbasa, potatoes and eggs, and a biscuit.
No.
Oh, okay.
Tough guy. That's a turkey glizzy. And don't ever say you're eating a turkey glizzy and show it on camera, sir.
It's kielbasa, and you can cut it in half, and you can make breakfast with it.
So a turkey kielbasa.
You can make a sandwich with it.
A turkey kielbasa is still a glizzy, my guy. What you just showed on this camera was disgusting.
Like you ain't never ate kielbasa before.
But I don't show it on camera though. Especially not on a fork. While I'm smacking in the background. That's crazy work.
It's good. Great.
I'm clipping this.
Clip it.
I'm clipping tough guy showed a glizzy and said it's good on camera. I'm clipping that.
Hey, whatever fits your narrative, sir.
All right, well, let's get back to this.
Anyway, and I actually see it considered an honor because I do think that he had a significant role to play in trying to wake up our community and especially our women about the severity of how dire and straits we are and how we very, very quickly need to make some significant changes if we want to reverse a lot of the direction of where our culture and community is heading.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, here is where I start, kind of, what would you call it? Diverging. Society doesn't work that way without force. Okay. Societies tend not to reverse course. What has happened has happened. I think the best, and he might even say this in a way, we just don't want to repeat the mistakes of the past if they were indeed mistakes. And I've made the point. I've made the point a lot that if we agree, and I'm not sure that I totally agree, but I'm sympathetic to the argument that if we think quote black culture and the larger American culture is broken, the only way to actually fix it is like one family at a time. Okay, there's not going to be a mass fix. Not everybody would even agree to the method of fixing it. I think this Make America Great Again stuff is a perfect example. Instead of having everybody on board, it's just made everything more divisive. So
that's the intent of it.
I don't disagree with that.
You said divisive? I thought it was divisive.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see if families,
tomato,
Brooklyn,
tomato. It's tomato,
Brooklyn,
tomato. All this
Um,
stuff is meant to agitate people. They're trying to provoke the people, and I hope the people are not that dumb and not that much a sheeple to understand that they're trying to provoke you into doing some stuff, and you should be smarter than that. So they talked about they fired 600,000 governmental workers, and they're about to get rid of 600,000 Amazon workers over the next 8 years. I hope you guys don't take the easy way out and do what they hope you're going to do, because there is a prison industrial complex. They want you to do dumb stuff so they can lock you up.
well, the thing is that the thing that amuses me is it's going to be a lot of people who voted for Trump who wind up laid off. So we'll see. But I wanted to comment on Kimmy here. Families are broken too, and you're just describing what's happening. What I said is that if we agree that the culture is broken, the larger American culture and quote black culture, you don't reverse it. You don't reverse the damage. You don't repeat the mistakes. And the only actual way to rebuild it, in my opinion, and I'm not a pro, I'm not an academic, it's just my opinion, you build it one family at a time. And if your family's broken, well, you know what? As my father used to say, guess will fall by the wayside. You cannot
Well, it's
fix
time to
everything.
rebuild anyway. I mean, Mexican people work
Again,
together. All these people work together except for black people.
hold
Black
on
people
one
don't
second,
want to work
JB.
together.
And as Knight correctly pointed out, I don't feel the obligation to, be a communitarian as you described yourself, Knightish. When it's doable,
I'm not a
and when
communitarian. I'm not
I
saying
thought
that.
I heard you use that word.
But no, I'm not a communitarian.
No, it
What
was
I'm
on another on your. Didn't you do a show earlier today, or was it yesterday?
yesterday,
Days,
yeah.
Hey, is
I
this the guy that
anyway,
John was
maybe I
talking
misheard.
about this morning, saying
JB,
he was doing heroin?
hold on one sec, JB. Knightish correctly points out that I tend to be a little bit more of an individualist, or a familyist. I don't think at this point in time some wide, painting everybody with a broad brush, forcing everybody to, do things they don't want to do. I don't think that's the right approach. In a way, it's almost like being a social Darwinist. We have come to a time when if things are as broke as everybody seems to do YouTube shows about, it's going to have to be a bottom up fix, not a top down. So what were you saying, JB?
No, I said, is this the guy that John was talking about this morning that falls asleep and do heroin?
No idea. I didn't watch John's show.
This night is dude right here.
Is that why you
fell
came
asleep.
up here to ask the question? You could ask that from the chat.
Let's
Yeah,
go
that's
along
nice.
with that. Let's go
I
along with
wanted
that.
to see his response.
Wait. Let's go along
That
with
nigga
that.
Knightish be on the fentanyl. That's what they
Let's
said.
go,
He be on
let's
the
go along
fentanyl.
with that. Wait 1 second. Let's go along with that. And I'm on fentanyl. I'm sleeping and all of this shit that my fan John says. Let's go along with that. And
No, well,
But didn't you fall asleep on dusty ass leprechaun?
yes, sir. Yes.
Why
And
you
I
be
got-
sleeping like that?
And I got some money behind it too. You should send me some.
No, I ain't sending no leprechaun.
Oh, you know
That
what?
sounded kinda
Speaking
gay.
of which,
This is what
That
you do.
sounded kinda gay,
speaking of
Knightish.
which, I
That
have
sounded
not
kinda gay,
done.
bro.
Let me talk to this weird voice motherfucker.
Well, hold on. Before you do that, I have not
But you
done.
sounded gay though.
Let
You
him
sounded
talk,
gay.
Stanley.
Hold
Let her
on,
talk.
everybody.
That's all.
Let that whore talk, Stanley.
I actually forgot to do. I forgot to do station identification. I haven't done it since the show started. We're 2 hours in. Everybody, please make sure you hit the like button. I forgot to turn on the poll. So if you didn't hit the like button, please do it. if you are new to the show, I know we had somebody wander in who was new asking if I was something or another. Subscribe to the show, young man, and maybe I can answer your question one way or the other. Support the show by supporting the host. The Sovereign Beer Fund is open for donations and or investment. So that's my commercial.
So what you were saying, Natish? Finish your question, buddy.
Oh, suck my dick. That's what I said.
Well, you're a fat fucking
Oh, is
dick.
it going to devolve into that?
Why has he got to be? I just asked a simple question, and this stupid leprechaun-looking bitch
I can tell this
want
is
to
a
go
dick
there.
right here. I don't know why homosexuals gravitate
What you got,
towards me,
narcolepsy, you
but definitely suck my dick and play with my balls, pussy.
You're a leprechaun-looking motherfucker.
Hey,
boy.
JB,
What's
have you
happening, Stanley?
subscribed? Have you subscribed to Nitish's channel?
I wouldn't watch nobody channel like that falls
Well,
asleep.
I figured at some point maybe you could continue this conversation over there.
Yeah, positively. Yeah.
The only reason why I seen John talking about her this morning.
Positivity go your way, sir. Yeah.
Fuck you, fat piece of shit.
My lord, is this the first time you two have talked?
I don't know who this is. I got a lot of fans that I don't know.
Wow.
I'll chain you in my backyard and beat your ass, boy.
Okay.
You're a therapist, a licensed therapist. So you're not just, and I'm not saying he was just some guy on social media talking, but that's how he was viewed. Okay, who's this guy on this YouTube channel? What does he know about all these things he's talking about? But I think the powerful thing is you are credentialed in your field of study. Okay, let's move on. So you said something powerful.
I just follow Nitish everywhere he go. Every channel he be on, I be on.
I believe you're twice married. And you candidly shared and acknowledged to your wife, your second wife, that if you hadn't met her, you would have likely explored other countries for potential spouses. Is that correct? And what was it about her that made you to marry in the United States again?
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I had already been dating for a while prior to meeting her. And I realized that the dating market at that time was significantly different than the last time I was single. And I'm talking like another 5, 6, 7 year period, a lapse in between. And this is still in my 20s. So that gap between when I was 21 to almost 30, it was like a night and day difference in terms of the dating market. I'm like, what the heck? I know I'm seeing all this stuff online, but I'm still in my head was still viewing it as an online thing. And then I actually had to go back out there in the dating market as a soon to be 30-year-old guy. And, I wasn't a guy that had a lot of difficulty getting access to women or being able to get even them to go out with me. But what I was seeing between the entitlement and the attitude and the flakiness, and I was like, whoa, like what's going on here? And then
that
I was like,
motherfucker rocking like he about to fall asleep now.
Conditioned to only focus on wanting sex.
Are you more interested in his slumber than you are this video?
And that tough guy, he looked like...
Oh, so you just came up here to talk shit.
I didn't even hear what he said. That nigga went out.
Just as well.
Especially that fat leprechaun. But go ahead, you can continue though, Stanley.
Because relationally, looking for a relationship was substantially harder. And it was like very, very beautiful women, very accomplished women, very educated women. And most of them were horrible when it came to the idea of long-term commitment. Flaky, attitude, entitlement, lateness, consistent chronic lateness, juggling multiple guys and getting guys, using guys for different things. It was just like, and a lot of them were just looking through the lens of what they can get and what they could extract. It was like even ones that you would think, oh, she has some potential. They would just prove you wrong again and again. And I was like, whoa, like I don't know what's going on here, man. Like it is harder, and it's very, very difficult for people who are older, people who are already married and have been married a long time. They don't really get and understand that the pool that everybody's talking about is that bad. It is. It actually is very difficult. And when you're like myself and many of the people, especially in the Black community that are growing up, when you're growing up in broken homes, when you're seeing a lot of people getting divorces, if you went through them yourselves, and you're seeing a lot of people being jaded, it seems like a lot of people are approaching relationships and dating after previous relationships don't work, primarily through the lens of what can I get and how can I protect myself. And when you're trying to date women who have that mindset, they're not looking at what they can offer you. They're looking at what you can offer them. And I was like, that was most of the women. Most of them. They're super excited about the idea of being a bride. No idea about what it is to be a wife. Not interested.
And again, I don't get what his argument is. It's they're not supposed to. I mean, you only marry
Stanley Knight is left.
Yeah, looks like he did.
Oh, I was fit to tell him I think he need a long dick slapped across his face.
Well, that's save that till the fuckery on the weekend. I actually don't get what his point is here. Most women are not supposed to be for you to choose one way or the other. You pick the one after dating a few women. I guess my answer to this would be, so what? That's kind of called dating. You date some people until you find one who's compatible, and that's how you work on developing that one exclusive relationship. I don't get what his point is. I suspect that a lot of people in this Black manosphere or Black manosphere adjacent mindset is that every woman ought to be marriage material, and it's as far as I know, it's never worked that way. Why should it work that way?
Oh, what's up, tough
no,
guy?
I'm not as I'm not as oblivious. I'm not as oblivious as you might think, Dave. I think a lot of these manosphere, all women suck sort of people are oblivious.
They do suck a mean dick.
Somehow or another, society has convinced young men that every woman owes them like followership.
Hey, what's up, tough guy?
Dude, if you want to go back to the audience, you can type all this stuff in. If you don't mind, I'm trying to make a point. I was actually trying to say that I feel a sense of entitlement that these guys think they have. Women don't owe you shit. Why do you think? And if your observation is most of these women don't have what it takes to be a wife, well, thank God you found one who did. Move on and stop whining about it. I don't think it's as bad as all that.
To what they care about.
And if it is,
when these conversations will pop up, I don't
stick
care
it out
what men
or
think.
whatever
They wanna
your
date
strategy
men,
is.
but they don't care about what men think. They want to be in relationships with men, but they don't care about what men are attracted to and turned off by. And that was what I was.
Well, I got something to say on this.
Like, even women that are dry,
Oh, dear.
dead,
Okay,
gorgeous,
hold on.
they don't.
What do you have to say?
I'm just saying, so I don't understand really what they're talking about, but it is not really making sense to me. And fuck you, tough guy. You a bitch. You're a real tough bitch. Continue.
Well, apparently, this has become your show.
Yep, it has.
Things that I'm just
Stanley, he
seeing
just
on
want
their dating
attention.
apps
He
and on
wants
social
somebody to
media, they're
acknowledge
already
him. That's all.
And you just wanted dick.
He just wants some acknowledgement, Stanley. That's all, man. He just, lonely people that don't have nothing going on. That's what they try to do. They try to reach out and grab attention.
Well,
by
okay,
saying
I'm gonna
some
go in the chat.
outlines. outlandish, stupid ass shit. Yeah, you ugly motherfucker. That's exactly where you need to go. Take your bitch ass on, nigga. You trying me. But yeah, Stanley, go ahead. Carry on.
Okay.
I couldn't even see them seriously. So when it came to my meeting my now wife, we met off a Bumble. At the time, I think I had matched with
you say they met
maybe
off
2 or
a
3 different
Bumble?
doctors.
Yeah,
And she
everybody meeting
being one of
online
them,
nowadays.
and I had gone.
You think maybe that was his first mistake?
Yes, yes, of course. Just
Yeah,
like my
not really.
mistake was
Not really.
meeting my baby mama at a bar. Yes, it happens. Things happen, man.
That's not
Yeah, but I
that's
mean,
not true.
I would think somebody. I would think
This nigga
having
gay
a
as hell.
bunch.
You keep talking out of turn. You need to shut the fuck up.
Fuck
I
you,
would
go
think
drum, bitch.
having a bunch of Bumble
Nigga,
dates.
go jack off with your no pussy getting ass, nigga.
How would you know that, buddy?
Yeah, you know
Oh,
what?
we can hear it.
I'm about to put two
I'm
people
about
in
to
the
slap
back.
the shit out of both of you
You
bitches.
ain't you ain't about to do shit. You ain't about
I'm
to do
gonna have to
shit,
put
nigga.
some.
All you doing is running your damn mouth, nigga.
I'm gonna have to put. You guys come back up. If you're tired of the video, let me know. We can do something else. But I'm literally trying to watch this video. Don't know where the lack of discipline. Both of you are grown ass men. Have some discipline.
That's him. If he would have never said nothing, I would have never said nothing.
Man, shut your bitch ass up, nigga. You
See,
started it.
look,
So
Stan.
what I'm
She's
trying
talking.
to say. What I'm trying to say is things tend to come out in the wash, and
I'm gonna
I
slap
don't know
both
that
of
it's.
you bitches. Y'all keep
You ain't
putting
about
me
to
in the
do
back.
shit. You ain't about to do a motherfucking thing.
I don't.
Pussy.
I don't know that you should expect. Bumble to be providing women who are marriage material. That's not its purpose. I didn't think.
Right,
How do
but I
we know
mean,
if
you
tough
never
guy
know
even
where you
got
can.
a girl?
You never know where you can meet a girl at. You know, you can meet a girl anywhere.
Well,
You
we'll
ain't
never
met
know.
nobody. What you meet? A
We'll
little
never.
fishy little bitch.
We'll never
Man,
know
shut up,
because no
nigga.
one asked.
You shut up, asshole. You started on me.
All right. Well, let's get back to this young man.
Nigga
Back
slow
on
as
one who
hell,
I had
boy.
met,
Remedial
and
ass.
it was the first time we kind of went out to eat. We talked about our dating life and how's that going and what are we looking for type of thing. And I mentioned, I'm dating and talking to people or whatever, but she was the first one that kind of made it known, like, well, hopefully after you spend some more time with me, you won't feel interested in feeling the need to have to date the rest of them. And
Only time I go on dates if I'm
refreshing to
getting
hear a
some
woman
head or
that saw
pussy out of
value
it.
in the man that
Nigga,
was setting
shut
aside
up.
time to meet and get to know her. That wasn't the case with a lot of the other ladies. It was about
What you
where it's
drinking,
going,
JB?
You
trips they
shut
want to
up, you piece
experience,
of
the
shit,
places they
bitch.
want to go.
Man, use a pussy, nigga.
Does the
What you
JB
gonna
stand for Jim? Does the JB stand for Jim Beam this afternoon?
No, JB stand for it's none of your fucking business. Continue the show, bitch.
This nigga
Well,
really want to.
Kimmy, the point I'm trying to make is
John
that
Galt is right about you. You
God damn it, dude! What the fuck is wrong with you?
He's a weirdo. I don't know why you let that nigga up here.
I usually he's not this misbehaved.
Yeah, let
This
that nigga
is
go.
this will be your last shot here, bud. I'll put
He's a
you in the
weirdo.
back for a bounty. If somebody else wants to hear you, they can pay for it. The only problem I have is that he's complaining about all these women.
Stanley, you'll let me interview you?
Shut the fuck up, pussy.
Not today.
What's your favorite color? Do you wear high heels? Do you wear dresses? Or are you a bitch? Probably
my
so.
favorite color is being quiet and not sounding like a living
This
version
nigga
of
drunk.
something.
This drunk.
You
This nigga drunk in the middle of the
literally
day.
sound like a talking corn muffin right now.
Well, would you want me to be quiet?
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Fuck
Yes.
you, tough guy. Suck a dick, buddy.
So I was going to
Why you
say,
so
I don't
angry?
know.
Why you so angry?
I think if you go to Bumble a lot, it's too much to expect that you're going to meet a whole bunch of quality people who are marriage material. It's a dating app. It's not a matchmaking service, even though what is it, Match.com calls itself that. It's a dating app. Don't
Stanley, I
expect
see you watched
somebody to
John
find
yesterday. You ain't have nothing to say on that, did you, boy?
Man, shut the fuck up.
I'm sorry. What about John?
I said
No,
I see
tell him to
you
shut
watched
the fuck
him,
up.
but you had nothing to say.
No, I did not watch John yesterday. Dude, I barely watch John these days. Usually somebody will say, oh, well, he was talking about you, and I might go check it out, but like I don't even subscribe to his channel anymore.
Did you see the show he did this morning with Universal?
Okay, hey, I literally
We
do
don't
not
care, nigga.
subscribe to his channel.
So you shut
How
your
would
little
I
bean
know?
head.
How would I know? I'm not
Nigga, we don't give a
subscribed.
fuck.
I
Dude,
bet
this
you
We
is
don't
do.
give a
You
fuck.
probably be wanting to sleep with him. Shut up.
This nigga's a
so
weirdo, man.
no, unless
He's
somebody
definitely
says,
slow.
"Oh, hey, John was talking about you," I don't subscribe to his show. Whenever he
Oh, I
goes
was just
live,
asking the question. I ain't mean to interrupt you.
I don't subscribe to his
He's an
show.
ugly motherfucker, man.
Letting me know about what guys in the past
Boy, you want to
did
meet up
as a
and fight or
reference of
something?
what it is I need to now aim for, as if that
Sure.
helped him
Oh
out.
boy.
She was the exact opposite. So that was refreshing. And then upon meeting her family and her friends and seeing that they were genuinely down to earth, good people, I was like, oh, they exist. This is great. This is this is cool. So yeah, so that's kind of how we connected. And as we spent more time early during COVID together, it became more and more clear that she was someone who I
Y'all
could
know
see a
CT live right
lifetime
now
with.
too, right?
Okay. All right. Well, it sounds like
Yeah,
the one
and
thing
you know
you
what?
identified when she said,
I just put your ass in the back. So you have a choice. You can go be entertained by CT, or somebody can pay for you to come back to this panel. Enough is enough. Black Knight, salute.
hopefully after this experience, you won't want to go back to them. So there was some sort of selflessness there, some sort of
Well, she acted like it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that she said that statement. Her behaviors also reflected that. She would ask, "Do you, I'm getting ready for work. Do you have something to eat for your lunch tomorrow? If not, make sure you stop by to grab something, or I'll make you X, Y, and Z." She, not even knowing me very long, really made like my first birthday with us being together. She threw a birthday for me. She just was someone who was already starting to move and act like someone who planned on wanting to be a wife versus someone who just was wanting to be proposed to. So she was just showing a lot of traits and signs of somebody who I could see being an excellent mom, an excellent wife, a great partner, a teammate and helpmate. And the more traits that she showed, it made sense for me to start getting myself together and transitioning out of that mode of none of these ladies are
It's called a
serious, can't take
bucket
none of them
hat.
seriously, just have fun out here, to like, oh, this is actually a legitimate person who I could see building with.
Okay, I just made a note for myself.
That with that hat, he kind of reminds me of a John Galt that doesn't smoke and drink all day. In other words, a healthy a healthy individual.
So when we talk about marriage then versus now, wife qualities, hopefully we have time. We have about an hour left. I have questions I'm working through. If you want to ask one to Jeff, I'll be more likely to work it in if you super chat it. I'm not trying to I'm not doing a fundraiser here. I'm just trying to use the time as efficiently as I can.
Okay, and this is where I stopped watching it before. Maybe it is a trilby. I have no clue. I'm not, other than baseball caps, I don't really wear hats that much. So if anybody wants to continue watching, just let me know. You can put a 1 in the chat. I do have Helen Andrews, Brian Nichols' new girlfriend, and a weird looking, she looks like the female Beaker, if you remember the Muppet Show. She looks good with her hair not pulled back. So, and she has got me fascinated. Oh, you do want to watch it? Okay, Fred. She has got me kind of interested in her her book about the feminization of America, which I told Brian I have no reason to read it because, just from what I've seen, the little bit I've seen of her interviews, I don't really agree with the premise. Why would I read a whole book about it? Given that I'm old and my time on Earth, my time on Earth is limited, I don't want to be reading stuff that I'm not going to finish. So let's go here. We'll listen to more of this.
Thank you for that, Jeff. So just a quick disclaimer that conversation is being had in a lot of families. What's going on? Why isn't my nephew or my son, who's a good man, why isn't he partnered up? You're dating the wrong people. You're not looking in the right places. You're doing something wrong. That conversation is happening in a lot of families, mine included. So it's very. Thank you for sharing that perspective on that. And so for the time you were first married to when you step back out, what was that, a decade? Because you described a very, very drastic change. Just for time's sake, was that a decade? Was that 8 years, 5 years? What?
Yeah, I would say at least 2 to 3 years in between the relationships. But when I'm referencing when I was single prior to the last time, I think I was about 21, 22 when I was last single, up until the most recent time being right before I turned 30. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, so that's a very short time frame from when things kind of changed. The environment changed. Okay, this is a song.
Okay, well, it sounds like he got really married young. So again, what were you expecting?
Softball. You might laugh at this, but talking about dating in a relationship content can cause problems between couples because some, one plus one might say, well, why are you talking about this relationship stuff when you should be happy here with me? Is your wife supportive of you talking about these things?
I would not be doing it if she wasn't supportive. I would tell you that. Or she'd be gone by now if she wasn't supportive of this channel. She actually set up my space. She bought me the camera for Father's Day. She set up this entire space, start to finish. She set up all the equipment. She just said, you just need to sit down in the chair, turn on the mic, and look pretty, is what her exact words were. So she's like, I think you have a talent here and I want to support you as best as I can. And she again, this
that's
is what I mean.
That's a great entrance.
I'm not surprised this is how she was able to show support and love. Because these were the types of things that I saw back then, where it was somebody who wasn't looking at the idea of a relationship with me strictly through the lens of if it would look good and what they can get out of it. It was also what it is that she thought she could help with contributing with it as well.
Hey, well, that's being boring.
Is she a robot? Because I know that's a big thing right now, where when men have views or opinions, especially publicly, that either a lot of people in society don't like or agree with or have issues with, the assumption is that if he's in a relationship, or particularly has a wife, then that means she's some mindless drone and slave who doesn't have her own thoughts, views, and opinions. I mean, y'all welcome to talk to her and ask her, but we have disagreements. We have our own different views of how we approach certain things and analyze information. But when you got two very, comparably smart people, it actually can be very good if you know how to talk to each other. It can be very helpful. So yeah, outside of, I would say most of the things that I talk about, I mean, I've kind of red-pilled her, honestly. I think I honestly red-pilled her a few years ago, and I would periodically show her a lot of this stuff. And I think it does take people to be in relationships and have certain friendships for them to understand different perspectives. I think part of the reason for why things are as bad as they are is because when you've been single too long, or you only surround yourself with people who think exactly like you, you're going to have a really difficult time understanding people on the other end. And I think that's what's happening right now, where it's men are now moving more into the manosphere bubble space, where they're not willing, able, they're either not able or willing to understand the female mind, the female behaviors, the female approach to life, and why it is that they do or don't do certain things, and how to navigate that if you want a successful relationship with women. They'll surround themselves with a bunch of men who reinforce a lot of their biases and experiences without acknowledging, well, if you still want to do life with women, that can only take you but so far. You're still going to have to figure it out with a woman at least. And the same is true where if you surround yourself with the sisterhood and they all the toxic things that potentially should be challenged and addressed, you all don't really do, and you don't really hold each other accountable or ever tell each other the truth, it's going to be very difficult for you when you're used to looking at things only through the lens of women and how women think and feel and see things. It's going to be very difficult for that to actually translate with a man that you're actually going to respect. It's probably going to be only efficient and works well with men who maybe other men don't respect, a man that's a little bit of a doormat, and a man that's a yes man. Where, yes, honey, whatever you want, honey. There's those guys that sign up, and there's those guys that exist, but the problem is most of the ladies don't want those guys unless those are the only options left. So that's what I've seen and noted, where it's like, that's probably how we're kind of missing each other.
Okay. Speaking of someone who's going into the other side to see what the other side is thinking, Dr. L is here. Dr. L, I'm coming for you next.
Hey.
This is one that discussion you had with Dr. What's her name about all of her statistics.
That was amazing.
That was
he is patience of a saint.
A lot of patience.
Look, I just don't agree with this painting everybody with this broader brush. Okay. The analysis I heard is that the dude got married really young and he found his second wife on Bumble while expecting all the other women he found on Bumble. I'm assuming the other women were from Bumble or some dating app. I mean, you don't expect to find a wife on a dating app. I mean, if you do, great, but he may have had expectations that were too high. But again, no, I'm hearing what he's saying. I'm sure he thinks all this. I just kind of shake my head at this quote analysis. It just sounds immature, to be honest.
A lot of perseverance and patience, and whew, that was
I don't expect a wife
Castlevania
to come from a Bumble.
Super chat. He says, "Love that
anything
story.
called Bumble."
To your description of how you met your wife.
No.
Says
the way I heard it, Fred, is after he divorced his other wife, he dated for quite some time. He complained that he was meeting a lot of women who were very accomplished and stuff, but they weren't wife material. Between his first and second marriage, he was surprised that he found what the word he used was meeting his current wife was refreshing. He mentioned Bumble, and I'm projecting from there because he hasn't given a whole lot of details, but don't expect to meet high value or high quality woman on a dating app. I don't think his origin story or anything like that changes my point.
Good afternoon, everyone. Sounds like his second wife and brother St. James are being intentional in looking for commitment, and she wanted to be a true
and what's the big head lady?
A ring, which is
as a matter of fact, you will probably like what she has to say, Fred.
Okay.
Dr. L said she just emailed me today. LOL. That's crazy.
Because I don't think this is a little bit after when I stopped watching. It looked like the serious part was over, but I can kind of skip ahead, I guess. See if anything comes up there.
Was never in control of society. The black patriarchy was never in control of laws.
Oh, this sounds interesting.
The black able to go further, walk longer, lift heavier items. This is just a part of the male anatomy, but the person and the jobs that require that type of work are going to be dominated by men because of their physiological reality, their biological results of what they have to allow them to do it. And then there's ladies who won't do a lot of those types of jobs. And the blank slate theorist is going to conclude it's because society isn't encouraging women. They're not providing the opportunities, the X, Y, and Z. And the reality is all these jobs that women don't want to do, they can go and apply for today. But the part of the reason for why perhaps they're not as interested in doing it, they don't want to do it, is because a lot of them know they'll get tired, they'll be exhausted, it's not even interesting to them, and they end up they'll get more educated than the men and then end up doing many of the same jobs that their mothers and grandmothers were doing 20, 30, 40 years ago. Because I think that there's limits and there's weaknesses to the blank slate theory. And the same is true. They can get pregnant. I can't. So it's a very obvious thing to those who actually look up, what's the flaws, strengths, and weaknesses of this particular model and view. That's not to say that the baseline of it can't be translated in terms of voting rights and representation and the right to apply for a job and the right to get an education. We all should be allowed to do that. But the
Here, let's have a look at this. I actually never heard of the blank slate theory, also known as tabula rasa, is the philosophical psychological concept that individuals are born without any built-in mental content. So what the fuck is he talking about, this physical stuff? You know what? Let me go back. It doesn't even seem like he's getting what the blank slate theory is correctly. Let's go back here.
Significant. I suspect it's related to altered gender roles. But for the unfamiliar people, what are the cultural and social changes you have observed that have altered the dating/marriage landscape? But first, before you talk about that, are those related to blank slate theory? And what is blank slate theory?
Yeah, somewhat. So blank slate theory, for those who aren't aware, is I believe in the Latin, it's like tabula rasa. It's the concept of, it's a philosophical viewpoint where basically it's the one half of the argument or discussion about nature versus nurture.
Wrong. Basically, people are born with a blank slate, and a lot of what they get is from nurture. He's going to overcomplicate it. I can see it right now.
All right. So one set of people in society and even in mental health psychology spaces, they have a belief system that a lot of why we are the way that we are is based on what we've been born with. What we've inherited, what we've been born with, what we're inclined to, how we're psychologically hardwired. Whereas the opposite end is people who believe, instead of it being more so nature, they see it as more of a nurture issue, that all human beings are basically born with a blank set, like basically a blank slate in terms of values, beliefs, knowledge, desires, urges, motives, etc. And that all of that you're eventually going to adopt and learn is based on culture and environment and what you've been taught or shown. The problem is that the people who lean with that view, when they apply that to the sexes or the genders, there's going to be some inherent problems. So,
well, let me just make it short. The modern scientific consensus has largely moved away from the strict interpretation of the blank slate theory. So making a big deal of it. Basically, we haven't figured out whether it's more nature or more nurture. Nobody seems to agree on it. So that's that. It's not any more complicated than that.
So the blank slate theorist is going to believe that, in essence, outside of some bodily external differences, outside of that, they pretty much see that men and women are basically the same. That's their view. And as a result, the standards, the expectations, the requirements, everything should be seen and viewed as exactly the same. So if a man can have sex with a lot of women, women should be able to do the same. If a man can work 60 hours a week, for the next 30, 40 years outdoors or do X, Y, and Z. A woman should be able to do the same. So they'll take it and apply it not only to voting rights and the ability to purchase things and inherit things, and they start extending it to more and more and more areas. The problem is that there now becomes an expectation that both parties, both sides are supposed to now have the same outcomes and same standards across the board. So if they see distinctions, if they see, oh, in this area, men seem to be kind of dominant, men are dominating that space, there's more men in this space versus women in that space, they'll see that as a form of inequality and not choice. Well, so the blank slate theorist is going to say this is a problem. We need to now put in policies, laws, and in quotas to try to change that issue, even if it's a very natural phenomenon between men and women. So as an example would be like a lot of boys are naturally inclined to being very physical and doing things with their hands.
Well, I guess the overall theory or discussion, if you can call it that, Winowitz, it is about it's roughly male-female relations. And then, I guess the overarching theme is Helen Andrews. And she wrote a book called The Feminization of America. So a lot of this stuff, I don't particularly agree with or, would be inclined to poke holes in. But I show stuff I don't agree with all the time on this show. So, it's kind of par for the course. And quite frankly, I'm gonna skip ahead. I am getting bored with the good doctor or therapist or whatever he is. So this lady's a lot more controversial. So we'll see what she has to say, hopefully. And this is a mercifully short interview. I think it's 35 minutes.
Wokeness is feminization. It is feminine patterns of behavior and group dynamics applied to
no,
institutions
she's not one of the
that had
women I would
previously
agree
operated
with,
by
Fred.
more masculine
I don't
rules
think
of group
America's being
dynamics. Our
feminized to the degree
institutions
that she would have you
changed
believe.
radically in 2020. Wokeness really did mark a significant departure in how our institutions function.
A rolling back or a reversal of the increased presence of women in the judiciary, in politics, in the legal profession, in the scientific community, in the academy even, would basically result in a much diminished voice for women in the institutions that wield the most power. Are you comfortable with that outcome?
In so many ways, I depend on the institutions of society functioning as they are designed to. And if feminization is an obstacle to that, then I think I have an interest in seeing that feminization rolled back. We have lost something if history departments become feminized, when parliamentary debate becomes feminized, when all of these things become feminized.
Okay, well, let me give you my interpretation. Let me read between her lines. Bottom line is we're moving away from a white-centric point of view. That's basically what wokeness is. If you're moving away from a Western racialized point of view where whiteness is the standard, people like her automatically call it woke. That's it in a nutshell.
Institutions just don't work as well.
Hello and welcome back to Unheard.
Every time you
When
hear
a writer
woke,
or a
just
thinker
think
writes an
white,
essay or makes an
and
argument
it'll all make
that
sense.
upsets people, attracts attention, and detonates a bomb under the discourse, we tend to pay attention. Why is it generating so much interest? What about this series of arguments is making it so compelling to people? Well, exactly that just happened in the past week when Helen Andrews, one of the most prominent conservative writers and thinkers, wrote an essay
Yeah, she
called
just
The
needs to
Great
pull some
Feminization,
hair
which
forward.
argued roughly that the woke era, wokeism, is not just
Oh,
an
I thought it was
accident of
feminization of
politics and
America.
timing. It is all to do with gender and the increasing prevalence of women in the workplace and in influential institutions. Of course, we thought we had to try and get her here on the show to talk it through with us. So,
Hey,
Helen,
this
welcome
guy's
to
kind of
Unheard.
feminized.
Thanks for having me, Freddie.
So let's just lay it out for our audience. Wokery is to do with too many women. Is that the argument?
Too many is a strong way of putting it, but if I can phrase it in a less inflammatory way right off the bat, I believe that future historians will be debating for decades, if not centuries, why the summer of woke occurred when it did. What happened to produce the mass hysteria that was the summer of 2020 and tapering off for a few years after that? In the same way that today we debate what caused the Salem witch trials. Well,
See? Now, of course, they're going to show a George Floyd protest. It was about police overreach and police abuse. It was black people, just basically saying too much. And all of a sudden it's woke and feminized and all this. Dude, again, when you hear woke, just think white or whiteness, and you will basically be able to understand what she really means.
enjoyed
what does that mean to
floating
you,
various
Stanley,
theories to explain
whiteness?
wokeness in my own mind.
It literally means, make America great again. You've heard people say, no, it really means make America white again. We have white people, or some white people, the white powers that be, are terrified of white people in America becoming a majority minority. Basically, if you take all the other minorities together, they will outnumber the white demographic.
Why is that?
And, if they get together and form voting blocks, white people will lose power. It's all about white people and power. They're okay.
Why is that? Why is that though? Why would they do that?
Why would who do that?
You said white people. Wait, say that again. It was the last thing you said. But you kept talking.
Fred, it doesn't matter whether it was mostly white people or not. I didn't talk about the demographics of the protest. I talked about the purpose of the protest. I don't really care what the demographic was. I'm saying basically white people like a Donald Trump, or it's a lot of actual be braves of the world, are afraid of white people losing social and political power because
that's what I was asking. Why
they will
why
be
do they feel that way?
outnumbered. Why would
They got
you
all the
want to
money
give up?
that.
Why
they-
would you
they-
want
they-
to? Why would you want to give up power?
They run
Nobody
everything.
wants to do that.
They're not. How is that
Right.
power?
And there, okay, God damn it. Can you let me finish what I'm saying without over talking? Or has JB transferred whatever his problems are to you? They are afraid of losing power. They have power now and have for centuries. They are afraid that this social phenomena where they become essentially a type of minority, they will start losing money and political power. If not, just white people in America have been afraid for centuries that what they have done, say to black people or other minorities, will be done to them. Thomas Jefferson used to write, in that vein. So that's why they have power now. They want to keep it. And if things go, with all the minorities here, that's why they're so hot to get all these undocumented people out. That's why they've been fretting for years that people who aren't citizens are voting, they're afraid that their interests will not be paramount.
Trying to make sense of it to myself. But as soon as someone proposed in an essay the following theory, everything clicked into place for me. Wokeness is feminization. It is feminine patterns of behavior and group dynamics applied to institutions that had previously operated by more masculine rules of group dynamics. And to check this hypothesis against the facts, all you have to do is look at the demographics of various professions and institutions. Many of them tipped over from being majority male to majority female in the decade or even the 5 years leading up to wokeness. Law schools, for example, tipped from being majority male to majority female in 2016. The New York Times tipped over to being majority female in its staff in 2018. Medical schools, the white-collar workforce overall, just so many of the basic bedrock institutions of society demographically feminized right around the same time that they developed.
Okay, well, white women, I forgot. I guess we can add white women to that. White males are deathly afraid of power being tilted away, minorities and women.
I would say
however, I still insist, when you hear woke, think whiteness. Okay, people, or when you hear woke, think, hey, we want it to be white. We want it culturally. We want the balance tipped back heavily into our favor. We do not want to share power. We certainly don't want to lose power. We do not want to be replaced in medical school by white females. Even though white females, I don't even see why they get that upset. You would have to. There's a whole line of thought about, hey, what's the difference? White females, white males, they're all white.
Mythologies of wokeness. And so the fact that what wokeness entails so resembles feminine group dynamics, that can't be a coincidence. So that's my theory, that the one caused the other.
Okay, so let's just try and explain. I mean, I can't count the number of definitions of woke that we've had on this show over the past 5 years, but I guess you're meaning not so much the radical political ideas as the atmosphere of cancel culture, those kind of things, or which parts of woke do you think are particularly feminine?
The one that I encountered first in my own career, because I argue for a living, is the idea that disagreement is a personal affront. That if you disagree with me, I take offense at that. Now, for me, my belief has always been that if I disagree with you, that's a sign of respect. If I'm arguing with you, that's how I show respect. That conflict is not necessarily something that should be minimized.
Shang.
Sometimes conflict is a good thing.
Those test scores will be the first thing to go.
Certainly in terms of debate, rational debate, conflict is the essence of that. What we saw during the woke era was this new idea that if you're disagreeing with someone's position, you are questioning their humanity or invalidating their lived experience. Wokeness was a way of shutting down conflict rather than living with conflict. And that's a pattern that psychologists have observed in differences between men and women. And to clarify something that's caused a lot of people a lot of...
You know, and I also suspect that it's almost like CRT. CRT was never meant to be applied the way it wound up being applied. The term woke and what it meant, it can mean anything these days. And it has been used and abused so much that it really doesn't even mean much of anything. I'm surprised that it's being mentioned as much on this fairly recent video. I think, let's see, when was this video recorded or released? This is 4 days ago that it was uploaded. So I thought I'm not even sure woke is a thing anymore.
Lot of confusion and trouble in evaluating this argument for themselves. It's not so much differences in individual men and women in terms of their tastes, but group dynamics, how male predominant groups behave versus groups that are majority female. It would not be fair to, or it would be reductive to say that men like argument and women are more conflict averse. That may be true in general terms, but there are plenty of exceptions. There are plenty of women who like conflict and plenty of men who can't stand it. But when you're talking about groups that are majority male versus groups that are majority female, it is a lot more consistent and fair and true to the facts to say that, look, groups that are majority female tend to operate by these HR type rules of you can't ruffle anybody's feathers and you have to lather any criticism in layers and layers of compliments and you have to avoid conflict and be more consensus based. And at the level of the group, that does tend to apply.
Because it's a little bit more than just that sort of cliche, isn't it? That maybe men are more rational or women more emotional, which I think many men have probably used in an insulting way to women, and many of our female listeners may be bristling at that. It's a little bit more sophisticated, as I understand it, which is that there's something quite sort of ancient about the way group dynamics worked, going back even to our distant ancestors, that the way to resolve issues and conflicts, there's a different approach between men and women. Talk us through that.
That's true. One book that I happened upon as I was pursuing this line of inquiry for myself was a book called Warriors and Worriers by a psychologist named Joyce Benenson. And I tend dispositionally to be skeptical of evolutionary psychology arguments. I personally do bristle at the idea that what I do and how I behave has anything to do with cavemen or our ancestors on the savannah. But in this case, I think her argument resonated with me because it reflected things I've seen and experienced myself. She said that men developed rules of interpersonal behavior adapted to war and conflict with other tribes, whereas women developed rules of behavior consistent with conflict within the tribe and with particularly their female rivals. The example of that difference that I think clicks most easily for people, or at least that I find that most ordinary people today recognize most easily, is that men are much more likely than women to have a concept of the honorable opponent, to be able to fight someone bitterly, even to the death in war, and yet at the end of it, be able to shake their hand and say, I respect you, and say, good game, fellow, and return to some kind of basic status quo of, yes, we were fighting to the death a moment ago, but I nevertheless respect you and honor you, and I'm willing to operate within rules of conflict, and the conflict's over, and now that it's done, we can be friends again. Women tend to be slower to reconcile. I was surprised but pleased to discover that this is true even in primate species, that when they observe the behavior of chimpanzees, that females who get into conflict are slower to reconcile with their female rivals than males. I don't know, there must be something to it if even chimps are doing it. But women tend to not have that attitude of good game, let's shake hands and put bury this conflict, bury the hatchet. Women tend to simmer and continue conflicts indefinitely. And Joyce Benenson offered her evolutionary psychology reasons for why that might be the case in the difference between how men and women handle conflict. But whether or not her explanation for why it's true is valid or not, I think that most people would accept that it is true.
Right, because I think a lot of people, when they think about woke ideas and the atmosphere around them, would say that there's nothing very soft or consensual about woke ideology. It's really, if you're on the wrong side of it, you are never forgiven. It's a very harsh way of thinking, you might say. How does that square?
That's true. I think people very easily fall into the trap of thinking in simplistic terms that men like conflict and women are conflict averse. Well, that is true in some senses, but it would be a mistake to infer from that women don't fight or that women don't engage in conflict. They do, very much so, sometimes more than men. It's a difference in the way that conflict plays out. I referred a moment ago to the concept of the honorable opponent and standing up and fighting someone to the best of your ability and then accepting the outcome of that conflict, however it might go. That is the thing that wokeness is missing. Instead of, if you're a wokester and you've identified somebody in your university department or in your business who has stepped outside the lines or violated the taboos of wokeness, what you do is you don't do what masculine rules of conduct would indicate, which would be to fight that person or dispute that person, say, I disagree with you and here's why, let's have an argument. Instead, you ostracize that person and say, I can't even believe you just said that. Wow. And shut down conversation and exclude that person from even the realm of things you're willing to debate. That, to me, was the biggest pathology of wokeness. It made it impossible to discuss any topic on which wokeness developed taboos, which turned out to be quite a lot of things that are very important for a democratic society to be able to debate. So yes, of course, wokeness is very much engages in conflict. It just does it in what is, to me, a toxic and unhealthy way.
I'm glad you're saying this, not me, but you're suggesting that actually the exclusionary tactic is more feminine than masculine as a way to get past disagreement. One specific real-world example you talk about in this essay was the Larry Summers oustings. This is in the pre-woke almost era. This is looking back to 2005 when the word woke hadn't even been invented. Tell us about what happened to him and why you think it's relevant here.
Larry Summers was the president of Harvard University, which made him one of the 10 most powerful people in America. He was extremely well connected. He was an extremely illustrious and well-respected economist, very academically capable as a scholar on his own terms. He was also very politically connected. He had served in the Clinton administration in the 90s. Really just a towering pillar of the establishment. He was invited in that capacity to speak to a conference on women's representation in science. And he said at the beginning of his remarks, when the organizer invited me to come here, I said, I've got two versions of this speech. I can give you the nice one, where I tell you all the great things that Harvard is doing to improve female representation in science departments, or I can give you a genuine, sincere, off-the-cuff rumination on why I think women remain underrepresented in science. I can give you the real talk. I can, the fuzzy bureaucratic one or the real one. And he said he wanted the real one, so here it is. And he proceeded to give what was actually fairly mainstream assessment of male and female differences when it comes to the hard sciences. He said that men are more likely to be represented out at the tail end of the ability bell curve. So you have more men than women who are way in the top 0.1% of scientific ability. And that also women tend to be less interested in these systematizing scientific topics than men. So even women who are extremely intellectually capable tend, as a matter of taste, to be more interested in more humanities and personal focused fields. There were some women in the audience when Larry Summers gave this talk and made those points.
I mean, it's worth saying, I'm sorry to interrupt, Helen, it's just, it almost feels nostalgic, doesn't it, to think of a world where you could wade into the question of the heritability of IQ or skills or talents in different fields and not realize that this is an unexploded bomb. I mean, anyone in the years since would be tiptoeing around and would just steer clear of it. But there was Larry Summers in the golden days of 2005, just thinking he'd rip it.
Well, one of the most important aspects of this story is that he thought he was off the record. He was off the record. And the rules of off the record say that you can't take quotes from somebody's off the record speech and hand them to a journalist. But one of the classic differences between men and women is that men are more likely to be invested in rules, whereas women are more likely to focus on the outcome that they want, that they think is going to be best, and kind of fudge the rules to get their way to the outcome that they want. And that's, whether or not you accept that's true of men and women in general, certainly in this case, the women ignored the off-the-record rule, took Larry Summers' quotes to a feminist journalist, and stirred this up into a massive national scandal. And the thing that was so dismaying for those of us who remember watching it unfold at the time is that these women who were trying to get Larry Summers fired, and as they eventually did not offer any arguments. They did not try and say that what Larry Summers said was wrong on the facts. What they said in the quotes that they gave to the New York Times was, I was so offended I couldn't even breathe. I had to leave or I would have passed out. And I'm sitting there thinking, you're not really beating the allegations that you're emotional rather than rational, ladies. Feminist hysteria managed to unseat one of the most powerful people in the United States from one of the most valuable positions simply on the basis of being offended without even trying to argue that what he had said was wrong.
So by that account, the ousting of Larry Summers was a sort of early example of this. Not only was it about the differences between men and women, it epitomized the differences between men and women. But I just got to push back a little bit, I feel, on behalf of those of our listeners who might be not enjoying this. First of all, are you sure that they were all women involved in the ousting of Larry Summers? I feel like if you did a full forensic study, there's bound to be some blokes involved in that story.
Yes, and in fact, there is a journalist, I believe, named Richard Bradley, who wrote a book about Larry Summers' tenure as president of Harvard. And it is important to state for the record that over 1 year elapsed between the speech he gave that got him in so much trouble and his eventual resignation. It is also important to stipulate that there were many, many other controversies that Larry Summers got himself into in the course of his Harvard presidency. He antagonized powerful members of the faculty. He antagonized the Black Studies department and kind of put his foot in it politically there as well, and made various budget changes that people didn't like. Larry Summers, if you don't know him, is he's famously a guy who's pretty brash and blunt and not in it. He's not here to make friends. Larry Summers is. So certainly there were many controversies that led to his eventual resignation. He was not fired, he resigned. But I think a fair assessment would say that the remarks about women in science were the straw that broke the camel's back. If you had to name one thing that caused his resignation, that would be the one thing people would pick.
I said that some people were upset by your essay. One such person was Kathy Young over at the Bullock. We haven't asked her on the show, so let me read out some of her remarks and you can respond to them. She says, Andrews has waded into this morass with an ultra-simplistic message for those on the right. Everything they hate in modern American culture can be blamed on women, or at least on women's social and political empowerment and their large-scale entry into public life. That message seems to be quite popular. Andrews' talk was reportedly the big hit of NatCon. You did a speech, kind of version of this at the National Conservatism Conference, and the video got 170,000 views. So she's saying you're just bashing on, you're beating up on women, you're blaming women for everything that's wrong with the world, and it's a cheap shot and it's not fair, and she doesn't recognize it, and she's pissed. What do you say to Kathy?
Kathy Young has become one of my most dedicated haters. Anytime I write anything, controversial or otherwise, she tends to pop up from the...
Now, see, this is exactly a good example. Now, where in there is she getting that this other woman hates her? Okay, these far-right characters like her, like any criticism at all, they just, you hate me, you hate me. Trump is the same way. They are literally woke, writing about woke.
Lob peanuts from the cheap seats. So, hi, Kathy. Thank you for being
there's a
my
reason.
most dedicated
There's a
reader.
reason the
in terms of the
term
substance of her
right-wing
argument,
woke,
I think the most important response I would give is
woke
this:
exists in
other
2025.
people
How is
who are
she not
skeptical of
woke?
feminism, going back all the way to Phyllis Schlafly, took gender differences as their starting point and then asked, given that these are the differences between men and women, what are likely to be the changes in our institutions? How is this likely to play out if institutions tip to being majority female? The important thing about the article I wrote and the position I am taking is that I did not take gender differences as my starting point. I began with the observation that our institutions changed radically in 2020. Wokeness really did mark a significant departure in how our institutions function. So given this huge, unprecedented, otherwise inexplicable, massive social change called wokeness, what could possibly be the explanation for that? So I didn't start with gender differences and saying men and women are different, therefore I think more ladies is going to be a disaster. I started with observing a disaster and asking what could possibly explain it. And I think that the most simple explanation is feminization.
Yeah, and you come up with some quite convincing dates here. Law schools became majority female in 2016. The New York Times, as you mentioned, became majority female in 2018. Medical schools became majority female in 2019. And overall, the college-educated workforce became
See, again, okay, it could just be what Vivek Ramaswamy said. You know what? Maybe white males need to stop being mediocre or stop worshiping mediocre. It could be that there are more women at the New York Times because men have forgotten how to write. Or it could also be that, you know, if we're talking about feminization of America, maybe they're all out getting a trade school. These folks are not really digging or looking under the hood. And I haven't read the book, so I am kind of speaking, you know, through my hat here. The bottom line is stop blaming something is vague as wokeness and actually find out why women, there are more women in med school than men. Blaming it on woke is literally a cop-out. It's not anything that I would accept as a reason. So, you know, if you're that far right of center or left of center for that matter, and you want to buy the woke argument, it's just it's intellectual laziness.
majority
It sounds
female
good.
in 2019. A lot of people, I think, women or men, would hear those statistics and feel like
I'm
that's
not
something to celebrate. They might say, okay,
wokeness
maybe
is
the way
not
that
a
these
fact
institutions
beacon,
work
Dave.
has changed. Maybe there are some negative aspects to that, but overall, it's a positive.
That's
because
why
it means
there's 1,000
participation. It
definitions
means
of
they will
woke.
reflect the communities they're serving better, etc. You know what the arguments are. Do you also see
No,
some positives
Zhang, let me
the
help you
additional
out. And
presence?
I'm stopping this thing too much. I'm not searching for a conclusion or fact. Woke is just a buzzword for nothing much at all. It's almost like unflavored gelatin. It'll take on the taste of whatever your argument is. There are no conclusions. There are no facts. All it is intellectual laziness. And white males are just kind of trying to figure out why they can't get into med school. And I'll tell you why. Asians. Remember me talking about the Asian standard? Remember me telling y'all about the story of it was somewhere over in Forsyth County, Georgia. Let me see, can I find that story? It was hilarious. Basically, it's the first time I ever heard of white flight away from Asians.
Of women in the workplace.
It depends on the field. I think there are some fields that are very much enhanced by female representation. I am basing my judgments of whether increasing feminization
This
is a good thing or a bad
feminization
thing
bullshit,
based
Dave,
not on
it's the same
speculation
thing. It's just
about how I
lazy,
think women
intellectual
tend to be,
laziness.
but on observation about how increasing feminization has affected these institutions so
Dude,
far.
I'm not real
In the case
I'm
of
not real
the
triggered.
field of
I'm
law,
actually chopping
that is
vegetables
one
for a
area
pizza.
where I see the areas of law that are most female dominated, including law revolving around sexual assault and the Me Too movement. And in the case of campus courts to adjudicate cases of sexual assault, the so-called Title IX courts that arose under President Obama, that is kind of a sort of perfect experiment. That's a legal system designed by women according to feminist principles. And I observe how those courts played out in practice. And I think, well, gosh, these Title IX courts for sexual assault on college campuses were just railroading a lot of innocent guys who got caught up in ambiguous situations. So there were many injustices committed by these courts. They don't seem to have the safeguards that I think are really important. These were courts designed to believe women and protect women, and yet they tended to do more harm than good. And then during the Me Too movement, what we saw, certainly in America, was many of those same legal principles and habits from the campus courts that existed on universities being applied to actual legal cases of sexual assault prosecutions in the real grown-up courts, things like the Harvey Weinstein trial and all the rest of it. And there was a tendency in those Me Too cases, certainly in how they were covered in the press, and even a little bit how they were dealt with in courts of law, that seemed to me to be inching closer and closer to the problems and the pathologies that were observable in the Title IX courts for sexual assault on college campuses. So that's a case where I am just observing as a fact about the world that I can see with my own eyes, that increasingly feminized legal areas or types of courts tend to function in
You know, in a way, this Helen Andrews character kind of looks like Grace.
ways that I don't like, that I think are bad. To be clear, there are some people who thought the Title IX courts on college campuses were great, who thought they were pillars of feminism. They were really sad when President Trump got rid of them. But I think they were bad. I think they were kangaroo courts. And I think if our actual legal system comes to resemble them, that will be really bad for America and for anybody who has to live under the rule of law. So that's my position.
So specifically in the example of Me Too, any particular case, what you would say is the more feminine response would be solidarity with the apparent victim and perhaps more of an emotional need to protect that potential victim. Meanwhile, the masculine response would be more sort of comfortable with a controversial outcome and more interested in evidence. I mean, it sounds very nice to men and not very nice to women, this. You know, you yourself, Helen, are a wonderful example of not this. If you are a woman and you're listening to this and you're thinking to yourself, why is this clearly very articulate and intelligent lady kind of caricaturizing women as these sort of emotional creatures? What would you say to those listeners?
Let's leave the realm of law and go to the realm of politics. And I'm sure you know that we could not get to the end of this conversation without mentioning Margaret Thatcher at least once.
It is her 100th birthday this past week, so appropriate.
I think one result of the increasing feminization of politics is a decline in legislative or parliamentary repartee, parliamentary heckling. It used to be quite common in your legislature in Great Britain for people in the House of Commons to heckle each other and shout at each other and have rude one-liners. And really, the parliamentary debate was an art. And I think most people would agree that that art has declined. Some of that, I believe, is a tendency to adopt feminine modes of rhetoric, which are less friendly to the sort of conflict-oriented repartee that characterized parliamentary debate in the early part of the 20th century. Now, Margaret Thatcher, among her many strengths, was parliamentary repartee. She could take heckling with the best of them. She would not break down and cry or give an emotional response when somebody shouted something from across the other side. So we can't say that women are bad at parliamentary debate or that they can't deal with or can't handle heckling, because Margaret Thatcher was quite good at it. Nevertheless, if you have a parliament that is majority female, the House of Commons is not majority female at this time, not yet. It probably will be someday. But if you have a parliament in which women have 1/3 representation or greater, your style of debate will become more feminized, and that will be less friendly to the kind of debate that used to occur. So there's just a huge difference.
Thank God that this is just a theory. Y'all do realize these aren't facts. This is her theory.
Difference between saying any individual woman, like Margaret Thatcher, might be talented in certain male or historically male fields of endeavor. That's fine. But if your entire legislature becomes predominantly female, that will have a change in what kinds of rhetoric you adopt. And that will be determined not by exceptional women who happen to flourish or be talented
she literally
at the old male modes
says
of debate. But that will
it's
be
her
determined by
theory
the
at the beginning
average
of this.
woman in your legislature and the general tendency of the female sex and how it tends to argue. So there's just a huge difference between individuals and groups and generalizations.
A lot of people here in the UK would celebrate that again, I think. In fact, you hear it very often, that Parliament needs to get over the old boys club, Oxford debating society atmosphere, which alienates ordinary voters. That's normally the phrase you hear. and they're delighted that the discourse is a little bit more comprehensible and straightforward, or fact-based or substantial or whatever. Do you take a different view then? You think we should be trying to get back to that more rambunctious style?
I absolutely do. And in that case, I think it's important for anyone to always separate your own preferences from what is objectively good or bad. It's certainly the case that I prefer the old rambunctious style of debate. But I like to think that I'm able to separate these things and step back and say, well, okay, that's what I would prefer, but what is good for democracy? What is good for the country? And having thought about it and attempted to be objective, I think it's true that the old rambunctious style of debate was better able to handle conflict. Another example is university departments. There are lots of people who look at English departments now or history departments now, and they say it's great that history departments are focusing more on traditionally female lines of inquiry. We do more social history now and feminist history now, talking about ordinary people. And we don't do so much military history or kings and queens anymore. That's the old stuff. And I think that the rise of women in history departments has been a big factor in that change. But I look at the kind of social history that these departments produce and I think, well, this is not actually very good. And I think that if you have history departments that don't have any respect for military history or traditionally male fields of history, that's bad. I will stand on this position resolutely. I think that is not just a matter of my own personal preference of the kinds of history that I like to read, but I think that's, objectively true of history departments in general. We have lost something if history departments become feminized, when parliamentary debate becomes feminized, when all of these things become feminized. The institutions just don't work as well.
The big question, I think, Helen Andrews, and the one I want to conclude with is, what do we do about it? So let's just say we're with you on the proposition that you observe this shift. If you want to get back to a more rational or different way of being, I guess there are two options. One is that you reverse the great feminization and you start excluding or aiming to weight down the number of women in key positions in key institutions. I can't see that being a very popular option, but there must be one. Or I suppose you have to insist that the women that do take part in those institutions can play by the old rules and stick to, what you would call more masculine ways of being. Are they the two options as you see it? And if so, which do you prefer?
No, I have a third option, which I will propose in a moment. But just to address the option number 2 there, that is one that is very attractive to a lot of people. You say, okay, feminization is bad, but we'll just tell all the ladies that they have to keep playing by the old rules. That is not a viable solution, because if you have a legal profession that is 60% male, then you can insist that the 40% play by your old rules. But once women are 60% of the legal profession, you can try and say, we need to stick to the old rules. But if they're the demographic majority, they're just going to say, no, we're going to change the rules to what we prefer. And there's really no way to set up any barriers to prevent them from doing that.
Okay, so option 2 is out.
So option 3 is all I am proposing. And the reason why I think it should be so easy for everyone to get on board with this is fairness. Right now, there is a massive thumb on the scale in favor of women in almost every institution. And this is one of the few things I say in the piece that is genuinely controversial and subject to sincere debate. I believe that the great feminization is artificial. It is the result of social engineering. It is not just the result of women organically out-competing men in the fields of the academy or business. It is because of incentives to hire more women and promote more women that are the result of laws that have been passed in the United States. So I think that if we simply get rid of all of the hiring targets that currently exist at large corporations, saying that you have to have a certain proportion of your employees be female.
Okay, again,
if we get rid of
this again is sheer fantasy. There are no quotas. Now, if people figure out how to get around them, too bad. But there are no quotas at these corporations. Quotas. There are no quotas at schools. Affirmative action is gone. Now, you could argue that white women were the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action to explain the medical school stuff. But this bullshit about corporations and quotas, again, she is talking theory. It's what she thinks. Theories, in this case, are not facts. And I don't know why people want to compare gravity and all that bullshit. The theory of gravity is trying to explain it. We know gravity exists. We're just trying to figure out why it exists. That's the theory.
The legal protections that exist around feminization in terms of HR that say you can't have
Brian, I've worked in corporations as well.
Because
I maintain my
having
argument.
Having a bro club atmosphere in your workplace is currently illegal.
Hey,
a
and
woman
Dave,
who's in that
stay
workplace
your
can
weak
sue her
ass in the
employer
chat,
saying,
because
I feel
apparently
like
you don't
success at
have
my
the
office
balls
is
enough to
determined
come up
by
here
how
and
well you
correct
go
me.
along
So,
with being one of the
stay
boys.
down there. You stay
Therefore,
you.
I'm being discriminated against. And a woman who
Spouting
brought
it
that
in the
lawsuit would
chat.
stand a good chance of success. That is a problem, and that leads employers to feminize their workplace to a greater degree than they would otherwise if left to their own devices. I'm saying leave employees to their own devices. In my perfect world, you will have some workplaces that are more masculine, some that are more feminized, and the world's big enough for everybody. Everyone can find a workplace to suit their own preferences.
And to Mackenzie's point here, this lady doesn't really have a good command of the facts. Her theories are based on theories. That's my impression. I don't hear any factual information other than there are more white women at med school. That's good. That is a fact. And her theory is as good as any other theory. She's not spouting facts. So this feminization is just her social theory. I don't agree with the theory. I basically think woke can mean anything these days. I still think it's way more racial. It is a white power. It's basically rooted in a racial contract. Okay, I think Charles Mills does a pretty good job of explaining kind of the basics of social contract theory. That's what this woke stuff is. She's just full of it. And by the way, she's got a theology degree. She isn't like some hard, she's not even a sociologist.
But right now, there are many thumbs on the scale, both legal and social, to try and increase female representation.
I wouldn't call it feminization.
I think if we get rid of those thumbs on the scale and return to gender neutrality, gender fairness, pure meritocracy in this respect, then I think the great feminization problem
by the way,
will take care
of. So what if it's feminized? If you want to use the word feminization, my response would be if you put more men than women, it becomes masculine. So what? The argument that it's worse off because of feminization, no, I don't buy that argument. I think the reason America has problems, it all comes down to parenting, and a lot of it has to do with how we don't teach critical thinking at home or in the education system. This feminization stuff, this masculine, this lead and follow, I'm sure some of it, probably makes sense, but not to the degree that it's, causing, airplane crashes at Reagan National. DEI did not cause that crash at Reagan National. We just want to take the word of the day and paste on more problems. This woke thing that she's talking about, this feminization thing she's talking about. So what?
itself. So that's why I don't think of myself as controversial. All I am proposing is a return to fairness.
Well, the idea of fairness, I think, is not controversial, but the result that you think it will have which would be, by your own predictions, a rolling back or a reversal of the increased presence of women in the judiciary, in
Define
politics,
feminization.
in the legal profession, in the
I think feminization means the workplace becomes more friendly to women. If you got a bunch of women at a workplace, yeah, you're gonna get tampons in you're gonna get tampons in the ladies' room. It's gonna become more conducive to or more accommodating to women. Yeah, it becomes more feminized. My point is, does it really make the workplace worse? I'm not sure I agree with that. Now it depends on the profession. I mean, you don't want a whole platoon of female rangers. It's a physical job. Again, there's so many exceptions to rules. There's so many types of jobs and roles. Painting stuff with these broad brushes, it sounds great. It'll make you some money. It'll get you a book contract, but applying some of these novel ideas to actual workplaces, I'm not convinced. She has not convinced me. Now, if she's convinced a lot of people in the chat, great. I'm just not one of them.
scientific community, in the academy even, would basically result in a much
Embarrassing to who?
diminished
To you,
voice
Dave? I'm
for
sorry you're
women
embarrassed.
in the institutions that wield the most power. Are you comfortable with that outcome?
Well, first of all, that's what I predict. There are many people who predict otherwise. Many people who say
What is a
you can
Wookiee?
get rid of all the
you
affirmative
mean
action,
Wookiee?
action programs that women enjoy at the moment, and the great feminization will roll on unencumbered.
She
It will
had you
continue
at hello.
because women
Dude,
are just
Kelvin.
out-competing the men. I think there are many feminists.
Kelvin, she's not plug or ugly, but this is actually saying a lot about you. And in my opinion, none of it that positive. It sounds like you're feminized to a point to where you think she's a beauty.
To have that position. My position is let's see what happens. I predict things will go otherwise. But assuming that I am right in my prediction about what would occur if we
She
did
doesn't even know.
conflict
You
with
have to
fairness,
assume
I
she's
am
right.
myself a woman, so I want women to be able to pursue careers and have voices. But on the other hand, I'm also a citizen of the United States. And I want my democratic debate, I want the debates in Congress to be debates that I can be proud of, to adhere to norms of
I'm a woke
rationality rather than
misogynist.
emotionality. I'm someone who has kids, and I will eventually send my children to universities. I want the universities they go to not be hives of woke insanity. I may, God forbid, one day find myself in a courtroom. I would like for that courtroom to operate according to rules of rationality and law rather than rules of which side of the conflict is more sympathetic. So in so many ways, I depend on the institutions of society functioning as they are designed to. And if feminization is an obstacle to that, then I think I have an interest in seeing that feminization rolled back, whatever,
Okay. I think personally, it's critical thinking. It's the education system. I talked to Nidish earlier. If we think the culture is broke, well, you know what? Reading a book on the feminization of America is not going to fix the problem. It starts within your four walls, and it is going to be a bottom up exercise if you think the culture is indeed broke. I think it really just comes down to parenting, teaching kids to think critically, and getting the education system back to actually educating kids instead of all this patriotic education bullshit.
whether I'm a woman or not.
If anybody is woke, it is literally these people who want patriotic education. You can't hurt little Chad's feelings. We were making white kids cry. See, that is actually something that needs to be addressed. I haven't heard any of these far-right freaks like Helen Andrews even address that part. It's the patriotic education. It's protecting kids from the truth of American culture and American history. That's part of the problem, in my opinion.
Not. I'm also a citizen and so many other things in addition.
Helen Andrews, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll get quite a few comments under this one, but it was an absolute pleasure to hear from you.
Thanks very much, Freddie.
That was Helen and.
Oh, this is actually pretty funny. Mackenzie says, I remember when people were complaining about tampon Tim. What do these people want? Women bleeding all over the place? Should we not? Yep, it was a weird battle, but these far right folks come up with some of the funniest arguments. So next, and this will pretty much be, probably, let's see, where am I? Somewhere around 4 hours, getting close to 4 hours. This will take us up to the 4-hour mark, which is probably as far as I want to go today. Unless somebody has a better idea or something more entertaining to watch. This is Irony. And speaking of gravity and cosmic forces, wave/particle, and the self, political metaphysics.
Say Frimpong, and it's clear to me, and it may be clear, becoming clearer and clearer to you, that a lot of our problems come from a bad political metaphysics. And what I mean by bad political metaphysics is that we don't know where we begin and the other person ends, and especially with respect to our families, our nations, or people in other nations, and what it means to be other than an other, and in even other.
Well, they put diaper changing tables in the men's bathroom. To be honest, we ought to just make all the bathrooms unisex. When I was in OCS, the bathrooms were unisex. If all the women were in there, on the hall shower or bathroom or whatever, you just flip the sign to women's, and then, when it changed over, flip it back to men's. We spend too much money on doubling up bathrooms.
Other than yourself in the future, or yourself in the past. In what way are you other than the other person? So we like to think of ourselves as discrete entities, and I think the origin of this metaphysical problem might be in Descartes, where our ability to doubt everything that wasn't our self-thinking then essentialized ourselves as a thinking thing, and abstracted from all other relationships. And this got a little bit complicated with Kant.
Yeah, I can see he's going to get into his philosophy here.
Is what we are when we're thinking, and thinking is so utterly private, and I don't know what my kids are thinking necessarily, so I am different than my kids, right? So if what I am is essentialized to a matter of the operation of thought, and thought is this private thing, profoundly private thing, then I am not really related in a meaningful way, or cannot be extended in a meaningful way to other people, right? The problem is I am not other than my kid, and I am not other than my kids. And even the idea that there's a kind of a central nervous system where what I feel is what I only feel, and nobody else feels what I feel because it happens just to me. That's not true with kids, which is why you shouldn't fight in front of them or anything like that. They don't have a fully developed nervous system. They are other people. They are other people. It's not centralized like that. And so, and understanding how you are related to yourself in the past and yourself in the future isn't a simple thing. Isn't a simple thing. You're not just this discrete entity in a time slice. You're actually extended through time and extended, I suspect, through space in the body of other people, which is why if something happens to my kid, that happens to me. And not necessarily indirectly, rather directly. So sometimes we can think of people as discrete entities, and other times we think of them as just participating in a field, real moving concentrations of a field. And so I was reading two things this weekend. One thing was a critique of metaphysics and thinking as a standing in for the essential self, It's a critique of modern metaphysics. And then completely different, I was reading a little bit of a primer on quantum physics just because, I have many interests. And I started to think that like there's kind of a wave duality, there's a wave particle duality problem in how we think of ourselves. And I think it has consequences, especially when we talk about family politics, because in family politics, more than anything else, we do act like a field. We do act like a field, trying to pretend that children are somehow distinct and discrete from their parents, or spouses are discrete from each other. I think causes more problems than actually like acknowledging the wave-like imperia that is family relations, where we all kind of participate as a field that's not discrete. There's a lot of spooky action at a distance when you talk about the relationship between people and a family. And I'm not talking about spatial distance, although that's something, but also like distance through time and lineage. There's a lot of spooky action at a distance that goes on. So maybe someone smarter than I am, or at least someone who wants to put a little bit more energy than I am, can look at how the wave particle duality that kind of came apart in the 30s, in the 1930s, I don't know, late 1800s up until the 1930s, can map on to kind of a political particularization, or like a notion of individuality that is kind of understands people as discrete entities abstracted from their relationships. And it kind of makes sense, or it kind of is useful in civil society where there's market competition, but it really confuses the way we talk about families. It really does confuse the way we talk about families. And if we're going to actually talk better about families and the reality and the experience of families and what we know or believe about families, and that you're not other than another, and even how we talk about them, how you become one flesh when you're married, we need to understand that this kind of paraphrase or shortcut we've used to describe individual rights doesn't really get at the political individual, doesn't really get at the family individual who can't be abstracted from their role in intimate relation with other people. And if we undermine that, and if we forget that, we can't be surprised when someone with a little bit better sensibility about these issues, who could talk about the wave nature of the self as opposed to the particular nature, without jeopardizing the sensibility of individual rights, but just understands that you're an individual through your participation in this wave. You're an individual, you're an individual through your nodal existence, not necessarily as abstracted from other particulars, right? Who just have an external relationship with an other particular. No, you are of the same thing, and not just in thought, but also in feeling. Like you feel yourself and know yourself to be intimately one with, members of your family, right? And to a more attenuated sense, members of your community. And if we can talk about this, how the self sometimes feels like a particular particle, and then other times feels like you're just a member of a wave, and understand that as proper, as the self proper, because sometimes we function in different ways. We function morally if we abstract ourselves from these relationships, and then maybe just concern ourselves with a divine, but as we function politically and socially and in family relationships, we can't really abstract ourselves from like our nature as just a node in a wave. We can't abstract ourselves, and to pretend that we can actually, I think, confuses a lot of people. So I think there's a lot of thought to be done on how the wave particle duality that problematized physics in the late 18th century and early 20th century, or late 19th century and early 20th century, applies to our political metaphysics, because we don't really understand the self, insofar as sometimes we think of ourselves, sometimes we are isolated from our relationships, and in other ways that very same self is so deeply imbricated, it becomes ridiculous. Like, it's ridiculous to talk about me as abstracted from my wife and kids. It's ridiculous. But some people give themselves over to that ridiculousness, and then they file for an untoward divorce or try to disown their kids. It just doesn't work that way. It's bad metaphysics leading you to make bad social, family, and political decisions. Right? So we need a way to talk about this duality that is proper to the human self. Insofar as you are discrete in a way, but you're also a node in a field in a way, as a self. And what you do, even how you think about yourself, is kind of context dependent. All right, so there needs to be a double slit experiment of the self. A double split experiment of the self. It's the gold film, de Broglie's gold film experiment of the self, to just show that this duality needs to be reckoned with as opposed to ignored, and we just think of ourselves as isolated selves. So J3 again says, ways, particle, how so? Well, if we're a particle, that means we're discrete from other people. We might be of the same kind, but we are bounded in a way. And in a wave, we are not other than the other. We're all kind of related. And I think in different ways, depending on the social institution, we behave and we experience life as each. Just like, depending on the experiment, light and electrons behave like a wave, or they behave like a particle, depending on the experiment. There are some famous experiments that show this duality. But we just figured this out about physical nature, about 100 years ago, a little over 100 years ago. I think we're still grappling with what it means for our political self, and I think it might even be more ticklish to understand how we behave as discrete individuals and how we behave as nodes or like concentrations of personhood as in a wave. So getting to that, I think, will help us. And I don't think we can actually talk about families well until we get this duality right. Because if you talk about families the way we're comfortable talking about civil society, I think that's inappropriate, because we're immediately related to our family members. What happens to your kids is not other than what happens to you. And what happens to your parent is not necessarily, especially how you're raised, is not other than what happens to you. And we see this rippling through time, and I think rippling is the appropriate metaphor. Now, if we were all particles, like this wouldn't be that big of an issue. But like I said, I think there's a lot of spooky action at a distance when you talk about families. And we need to grapple with that. Even like something like animal magnetism. Maybe the Phaedrus is, not the Phaedrus, the symposium where he talks about love and we're all just kind of like two bodies. Maybe that's a more accurate representation to what's going on. But I definitely think something like the Republic, where book two, where we try to think of ourselves as both the self and how we function.
I tend to like him. This isn't one of his better analyses. I think he's pretty smart. Plus I have a penchant for basically he's political philosophy. So political philosophy is my thing. And his ideas on family and divorce and stuff like that, I pretty much align with. So I don't watch every show because he does maybe one or two a week. If the topic is something, if the topic sounds interesting, I'll listen. I don't listen to every show though.
In a city, and how you can't really distinguish between the two in a neat way is a better way to talk about ourselves than rather than just merely a thinking thing or just merely what we do. But we need to be both in an important way. And we relate to each other as both. That's the thing. If we could just relate it to each other as discrete entities, then this wouldn't be that big of an issue. But we relate to other people, especially other family members, as through their subjectivity, through a shared being. There is a shared being there, and we need a language to talk about that, because a language where we're discrete just doesn't work. It's not phenomenologically accurate. It meets neither thought nor experience. Now it's tempting because of like dicey metaphysics, because of Descartes, who says like we can be reduced to ourselves as a thinking thing, and since thinking is such a private event, then and we're not necessarily obviously in other people's minds, then it localizes ourselves, and then there's some sort of like in late modernity, like an thinking organism, which gets us a body and unifies the body and the mind, but still doesn't really explain the relationship between minds in a way that's appropriate. That wave-like relationship between minds. It still thinks of us as bounded particular particles. But so we need to get at this duality. I think if we're going to be serious about fixing our political metaphysics of the family, at least. I think this comes to head in the family in a way that it doesn't when you talk about civil society. But definitely in the family, we need to talk about how we are both waves and particles. We are both nodes of energy and also like discrete bounded bits. And to think of us as solely one, exclusively one, kind of screws up like our relationships with others and our being in the bodies of others, and like the idea of lineage itself. Because we're not just talking about spooky action at a distance across space, we're also talking about action at a distance across time, which we need to account for, I think, in a real way. All right, thank you for your time. If you appreciate what I'm doing, go ahead and go to www.funkyacademic.com. I don't know if anybody's ever put this together. I'm sure there's been political metaphysicians who have. But yeah, just understand that the problem of the modern problem, what Newton was to physics, you want to come say hi to people? Descartes was to metaphysics, and we're getting similar problems. All right, say hi, people.
Hi, people.
What's up?
I took a shower.
Oh, good. How you
That's
feel?
nice.
Good. I know it's a cold, rainy day, so it's nice.
Oh
to
my
be
Lord,
in the house
this
on
is a
time.
little
All
much.
right, I'll be up soon.
I love you.
I love you too. All right, say bye, people.
Bye, people.
Bye, people. All right. So, I hope that was clear. I hope that this opens the door to a bigger problem, or like you see some of the presuppositions that governed our physical life, govern our political life in a way that's not particularly fulfilling. And we don't necessarily need a double slit experiment or a gold foil experiment to see that there is a duality that we're living. Thank you for your time. I will.
All right. Well, that will conclude today's festivities. Unless I get bored, I've got a pizza to make. I don't know. This time actually worked better than most times. I don't know whether it's a Monday thing or this is interesting. Let's see here. We might actually watch this since we're here.
This
Or
is the opinion.
No,
I
this
actually
is
think in many ways
this is actually a podcast. They can wait. So anyway, I some new faces here. Mackenzie, it's always good to see you. It's been a while. Though I guess you were here once last week. So everybody, please make sure that you hit the like button, and if you are new, please do subscribe. Test it out. May not be your cup of tea, but give us a chance, and I will probably be more normal time tomorrow. I'll just do a short morning show and then come back. Maybe I'll do around 2. We'll see, but I think I will be back in the morning. It's just I had a lot to do, and I won't have a lot to do tomorrow morning. So I enjoyed it. Nightish and Tough Guy and JB even who had the temerity to come up to this panel. Y'all don't be shy. Most of you aren't. So I will see most or all of you tomorrow. Y'all have a good evening.